Okay, ladies and gents, I think we're ready. I think we're ready to basically have an amazing Sunday morning. I think we're having an amazing Father's Day is what we're going to call it today. Totally stoked to have you along for the ride. Greetings and aloha. What's going on? It's Mike's from livemyassoff.com. And happy Sunday from the Big Mango. I have figured out the technology. I'm bringing the pigeon cam in this morning, so I'm pretty excited about that. And the other thing that I'm really excited about is I have the ability to show you guys pigeon cam as well as the next video that is coming as part of the Koh Sichang series. So that'll be kind of fun. I'm pretty excited about that. And I'm actually going to get a cup of coffee here in a second. But the beauty is that while I do that, you guys are going to be able to see the new video. Let me make sure that I can get the chat up here. That would be, hey, Patrick, what's going on, man? No worries that you missed last night. That is like absolutely and totally cool. I'm honored that you came by. And glad that you are here right now. MetTech, I know that you checked in. Thank you so much, dude. I can't wait for everyone at the gym as well as you to be part of the Cool Kids table here very shortly. And Gotta Love Thailand is also hanging out with us this morning. So pretty honored that you're doing that, my friend. And I'm always wildly honored that you give me crap about not doing a live stream for I think your quick record is probably I haven't done a live stream in like 6 hours. You're like, Mike, what the hell? So thank you very much for that. Because as you guys know, my ego is quite fragile. And so it's like, oh, hey. Joseph, good to see you, man. Thank you so much. And Damo, very cool, man. Thank you so much for taking a seat at the Cool Kids table. Okay, so Damo's here, but Aztec hasn't checked in? Oh, see, I see how it works. So Aztec can give Damo a hard time. Sorry, crap. Hello, Robert. You know what I don't know how to say in Thai is Happy Father's Day. That's pretty lame, isn't it? I guess that's the next thing I need to learn. So what I'm going to do for you guys is I am going to show you basically the second video in the Koh Sichang series where Gracie and I were there. This video is going to publish here in probably in several hours. But I wanted to show it to you guys first and give you the opportunity to basically talk about it soon, because not only am I able to travel here inside of Bangkok and Thailand, but also I have the ability to get some emails from you guys. And so you guys are updating me on like potentially going to Mexico and that sort of thing. And if you ever watch the YouTube channel Divert Living, that young guy and his girlfriend, they're living the dream, and they're just very, very inspirational. And so it's really cool to see them, traveling the world, right? And so anyway, I'm going to play this video. I'm going to grab a cup of coffee, and then we're all going to come back. And we're going to hang out at the Cool Kids table, and then we are all going to live the dream. So it's Mike's from livemyassoff.com. I'm saying, I hope you're living the dream, because if you're not living the dream, there's a chance you may not have been to Koh Sichang. So greetings, it's Mike's from livemyassoff.com over here on Koh Sichang. And for those of you that may be considering living over here, a couple things. One, there's a post office. Second thing is there's a hospital, which is very good, which is basically right across from the post office. And the third thing, right down this road, is immigration. Now, the good news, if you're a foreigner like me, is that by now you know that the TM28 is no longer necessary. But nonetheless, if you're over here and you need to TM47, well, it's right here. And right down here is the ferry landing. So very easy to get to. We literally walked our hotel is about 80 meters left or 80 meters on the left up there. So that will be very easy to get to. We ate at a great restaurant right about there called Pinoy. Excellent seafood. like truly excellent. Like it wasn't just like, oh yeah, it's pretty good. No, this is like some of the best seafood I've ever had. And I grew up in New England. So anyway, Gracie gratefully has got one of our favorite sort of frozen snacks, which I'll need to eat now, otherwise it'll melt. But it's frozen Nestle Milo. If you're not familiar with Milo, it's kind of like quick or
Can I open it for you?
yes please, thank you. Or Ovaltine sort of thing. It's kind of like a protein thing, but they don't usually mix it with milk like you might with Quick or Ovaltine. But in any case, it tastes like chocolate. And it's very good. Thank you.
We have water here.
And they're, oh, okay. And these are usually 20 baht.
12.
12 baht?
It's 10 baht, remember?
Oh, is it really? Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's 20 because we get 2. So it's 12 baht here. So that's not bad. But anyway, I just wanted to do this quick video. I still got to charge my phone, but we're going to walk back to the bungalow. Charlie's Bungalows.
I'm gonna get water there.
Yeah, we'll get some water back here. Place where we bought these. Mom and Pop. There is one 7-Eleven on the island, just so you know. So yeah, check in later. Anyway, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna cruise down to the pier. They do have, as you can see, motor scooters here, and they have. Oh, great! That's perfect, actually, for us right there. Hopefully, there's like some little chicken skewers and that sort of thing. But yeah, so I guess they do have some motorbikes there for rent. Pretty much the going rate is 300 baht per day, and I kind of want to get one so that we have one because I'd really like to get up about 6 in the morning and cruise around. Because it's hot. There's squid. Oh, perfect. Oh, that's going to be great. All right. So anyway, up there is where the restaurant was, and so we're going to walk down this way, which is basically back to the. Oh, how cool! I don't know if you can see this through the green thing, but it basically says Merry Christmas and Happy New Year 2020. So I'm not quite sure why they didn't take the sign down and then just covered it up with green.
They cover it.
Or maybe they're gonna. Or maybe they're just gonna. Oh, that's kind of neat. Bird there. Obviously, I'm tormenting him by being so close to him, but anyway, I won't torment him any longer. So it is 4:49. If you are of my vintage and you are in the same club that I am, then you know that because of that, acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. How's that? There's plenty of these everywhere, which are great places that have, you can get water everywhere. You can get little snacks everywhere, but you can also get freshly made food everywhere, which is really stellar. If I were to be plopped here and have not seen any of the news that I've seen, oh cool, that's a pretty large one over there. There's little pigs, and then there's like the mama pig.
How do you call that? Wow.
Their fur.
The fur is really different.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you don't get that in the Philippines, do you?
No.
It's just like skin.
It looks like it's wild.
Yeah, probably. Wild boar.
Yeah.
So that could potentially be very dangerous. It's a mother, and those are her children, so we won't go bother her for fear that she'll attack us. That's kind of neat, right? You don't see that in Bangkok, unless it's on a rotisserie. Yeah. So anyway, what I was saying. So if I was just like plunked down here, I would be like, oh, it's just I'm here in Thailand on an island on vacation. Okay, wait, we got a race going. Which one? I'm gonna bet on the girl with the thing in the hat. Yes, nice, good. That's girl. The largest one won. Not shocking, right? I'm sure she's got a lot more muscle on her. That's kind of fun. But anyway, okay, what was I saying? If I was plunked down here and I had not watched the news at all, you would have a very difficult time convincing me that there is a bubonic plague So we will walk down here and walk to this port, and do so without getting hit because we're very strategic. Oh, awesome! I love these things, man. I love these, and it's really interesting to see King Bhumibol still around as much as he is. It's excellent, I think. But usually, as I've been seeing that, like in the last year, maybe 2 years, he's been Thai massage, $250 for 60 minutes. So, American breakfast, pancake, banana, pineapple. Pineapple, big fan of that. Western seafood. They're open, and they're called food at the Tai Pao Park Resort. So we may cruise back. Bungalow's located in the woods behind the restaurant. So here's something that's really, and I strategically placed the reservation where we're at because of this, is you are not going to find 100% of all of the places. You're not going to find 100% of all the places that are available here on like Agoda and Booking and that sort of thing. It's not because they're lousy, I'll tell you that. Some of the places will have their own websites. A lot of times what they expect you to do is email them or call them and say, hey, I'd like to make a reservation. And then they'll be like, okay, cool, here's our banking information. Just wire us the money. And what is the statement that they make, like in Craigslist constantly and all those things? That whatever you do not wire any money to people you don't know. So I don't know if I do that. So that was the main reason that I wanted to do that. What I will do, though, I will absolutely walk up to a place that has a bungalow and say, hey, can I take a look at your bungalow? And if I like the bungalow, then I will give them cash. But I lucked out, and the place that we're staying at, I got for 536 baht for the first night, including taxes, fees, everything on Agoda, because I had some credit and some points, right? And really, I got such a good deal at this hotel, and all that means is that I potentially got lousy deals at other hotels and overpaid, right? Because they gave me points and money off and that sort of thing. So anyway, regardless, for the most part, it's like 1,000 baht a night. Once you add in all the taxes and fees and that sort of thing. Airbnb is not gigantic here. But again, like I said, neither is Agoda. So it's one of those deals where, yep, we wanted to have a place, and I'm really glad that we made the reservation we made because it was really inconvenient, really convenient rather. Meaning we could walk to it right from the pier, but also once we got there, we were able to walk like I said, 100 meters and get some really good seafood. And we're able to walk back down to the pier, and for our little jaunt right now, we'll be walking to 7-Eleven. So this looks really, really good. That's really cool. Stir fry is common here, I've noticed. And we definitely are going to have our choice of places to eat. So we walked up from here earlier today, so I just think, I'll tell you what I really love about fishing boats in Thailand. They're very colorful. Oh yeah, there's another pier over there. You want to go walk and check that out?
I guess it's not.
I mean, we've already checked out our pier. Want to go check out that pier? As you can see, obviously the tide comes in. Obviously, these guys wouldn't park here if they're like, oh, yep, the water's never coming back. So I'm not sure what tide it is right now. It's obviously lower than high tide. But that's pretty neat. This kind of looks like Hua Hin when we were there, and they had the boats that were, Yeah, so we're not bon voyaging just yet, which is good. But yeah, I love the colors of these boats, man.
Is that light? Is it light?
Yeah, so those are big lights. So basically, I think you may have remember, we also saw those on the boats when we were in Pratrap Kurikan, and we were near the park, all the way at the end there that we went to. Guy had a boat and he had the lights that were hanging down. Remember that? Yeah. Anyway, so they cruise out at night, right? And then they turn those on, and then the fish come to the surface, and they catch them. And I can't remember whether it's because they think that, oh yeah, now it's daytime, and I need to like go get food, or whether they're just tricking them in some other way. But yeah, I was saying to one of the subs, Dr. G, thank you for the acknowledgement, actually, that I could just come down here and stare at this maritime movement for hours, which I'm quite certain Gracie cannot. But that interests me over there. So I think we should walk out over there. And I'm guessing to do so, well, we could just walk down on the beach, I guess, if we could climb up on that concrete wall, which it does not look like we can do that once we get down there. So I think we need to walk back up here and then go left. But I actually want to walk down to the end of here. Let's walk down the end of here. Hello? Now, of course, I'm illiterate, so I don't know what this says, but I assume it has...
It's like a police emergency.
Yeah. It obviously says something of drasticness. And I don't know what happened in this picture, but kind of scary looking. Yeah. Ready? Oop. I almost had an accident. So we'll walk out here on the pier, and gratefully we're not taking advantage of the Bon Voyage yet. Although that sun, whew, boy, is that sun is warm, and it is humid here. You want to talk about tropics? I mean, I was thinking, oh yeah, we'll leave Bangkok and we'll come down here, and it'll be nice and cool, because when I was in Pattaya, it was absolutely cool. And that is not the case here. It may not be hotter, but it is more humid, so therefore it feels hotter, right? Now, if I check on the time, it is, it's 5:01, so there's a pretty good chance that there is a boat leaving right now. And so either that, or they're just kind of arriving a bit late, and then they will eventually get here. Oh, one little tip. So as you're coming here, don't be concerned the fact that they stop at this really, really tiny island for about 4 minutes and offload like some cargo. There's a really small island. I'll show a picture of it here with a Google map, but yeah, they just sort of offload some stuff. And that's actually where I think that they were going with the ice. Because you can do plenty. I mean, so I'll show you this. The speed test I did for the Wi-Fi in our room, the upload speed is 3 times the 2.5 at least times the speed of what I have back at the condo on fiber at home. And so all of the video that I took coming up to here was absolutely uploaded. We took a little nap and it was all uploaded. It's freaking spectacular. About 55 megabits a second up. Are you kidding me? So that's pretty. So obviously they got a couple of pieces of fiber through the water here, coming to the place, coming to the island, coming to Koh Sichang. If you recall from the videos that I took on the way here, tons and tons of activity going on in the water as far as like shipping, and a whole bunch, especially right here, of these, I don't know what you call them, basically barges, I guess, and they seem to be constantly offloading giant ships in the distance that you would potentially see loaded up with shipping containers, right? And they seem to be just taking those off and putting them in these barges. And then the only thing I can think is then from here they either go all the way up to Bangkok or whatever, but it seems so far away to be doing this. You think he would like... So anyway, ignorance is what I've got going on with that. But anyway, so that's where we came in, just down there, and that's where they took where they sprayed our hands and took our temperature. So, but it's nice. They have a little juice bar here, and then they got food stands over there. So You will not starve anytime in Thailand, and you will not be disappointed with the quality of the food either, which is really nice. So yeah, let's try to get to that other one. Now, this was an interesting sign that I saw, customs in 400 meters. I saw that sign, and then I didn't see anything after that. But check this out. Can you see all the different colors? I mean, there's a lot of reds, of course, but blues, and obviously, you know, the color of the Thai flag, right? Red, white, and blue. So there's that there. But there's also these, like, you know, kind of brighter greens on them. Anyway, another part of the Thailand that you'll see through my rose-colored glasses. So, and then there's the speedboats down there. I'm sure where you can get to the adjoining islands very easily. So Hong Nam is over there. Toilet. So you can. That's cool. Yeah. So these tuk-tuks are everywhere. And to give you an idea, like, so what is a tuk-tuk, Mike? So a real tuk-tuk is one with basically a small 4-cylinder engine that is water-cooled, and, you know, big carburetor right there, right? So this guy's legs, I mean, he's got to be pretty strategic about it, but the shifter, it's funny, it's always behind them. And it looks like they have a 3 or 4-speed forward gears. They do have reverse for sure. I've seen these guys backing up into the smaller soys, I guess. I don't know if they refer to them that way here, but it's, you know, the alleys, right? So anyway, yeah. So the restroom back there. So if you don't get a chance or don't feel like using the toilet on the boat, once you get here, you can absolutely get relief. All in from the time the boat backed up until my toes touched the dock here, and I was standing in line waiting to have my forehead measured in temperature. 53 minutes. We got to the other little island where you stop for a few minutes at about 12:49. The seas were sort of unremarkable, and there was a little bit of chop. There was a few white caps every now and then, but for the most part, certainly nothing over a meter. You know, the majority of the time it was like 1 or 2 foot. You know, so yeah, for the size ferry that we were on, didn't even really notice it. Now, what I'm curious about is, I bet if we go down this way and then take a left after the police station, I bet from there we can get to that other pier with any luck. And so, yeah, the police station is right here too. So if you need any sort of thing that you would get from a police station, then that's available right here. They label themselves up there as having one-stop service. So if I guess you are, if you are still obsessed about the TM28, which I encourage you not to be, but if you are, then that would be the police station you could go to, or to the immigration office, which is just a little bit up the street. Oh, no, not yet. Wait. Okay. Hello. Can go? No? Okay. Come up. So here's the neat thing about universal symbols. So that guy gave me the, you know, the cross-armed thing, where you like put 2 arms, you know, together. I can't do it because I'm holding the camera. Which basically means you can't come this way. Now, what I don't know is, does that mean we can't go to that pier at all? Or whether we just couldn't basically walk through that guy's backyard, which I wasn't really too keen on doing anyway. But Okay, my friends, greetings and aloha. What's going on? It is Mike from livemyassoff.com again. I hope you enjoyed that. There was a part of me that was like, okay, well, then that doesn't really make this a live stream, Mike. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to show those because, as I mentioned before, 51% of the reason that I do the videos is for my mom. And my mom likes to see places that, you know, she's never been, of course, and most likely will never come to. And so what I like to do is I like to give her the opportunity to see basically where I've been, where, you know, likely many of you have been, not necessarily to Koh Sichang, but also to, like, you know, other places and that sort of thing. So anyway, aloha, what's going on? I'm stoked you guys are here, and I'm stoked that I got some of the comments up, and I'm really looking forward to talking with you guys big time. Now, it was interesting because what happened during me doing that is I was trying to kind of put the comments up there so everyone, you know, sort of saw what other people were saying, because right now I'm streaming over on I'm streaming on Facebook and that sort of thing. So anyway, well, thank you, Joseph. I really appreciate it. It's kind of like one of those things where I like to sort of try new things every now and then, not the least of which is, of course, try and burp without you guys hearing it while I'm on camera, you know, because that's how the professionals do it. And so anyway, I gave that a shot. I will argue that the quality of it was not great. There was a little bit of skipping, and unfortunately, that's sort of to be expected because of the laptop I have. And again, I'm not going to drone on about the fact that I don't have a supercomputer on top of my desk that I'd like. My first desire was to get the audio good. Even though one could argue, yes, Mike, but it's a video production, so prioritize, dude. Anyway, greetings and aloha, and happy Father's Day to all of you that are guilty of that. And I hope you guys are having an amazing Father's Day. I called my dad this morning, which of course is Father's Day Eve back east. But it was really, really good to check in with him. And I got to tell you, it's great having my parents. And I think the thing that, as I've mentioned before, disappoints me the most about this whole thing is the fact that I absolutely am not going to be able to get home to go see my parents. So that's, you know, selfishly, right? And anyway, so I want to get to some of these comments. Yeah, okay, and to this one right here. And so I'm glad I can scroll so I can show this to you guys if you didn't see it. So I got a lot of time. So Dave's down in Koh Sichang, and he said, you know, would like to get everyone's opinion. My girlfriend's friends all ask me all the time about my friends or people that I know that are looking for a relationship with a good girl. Do you think it would be a good idea to start a channel and maybe interview all the women and get people's input that are planning to come here? So I think a couple of the things that, and then of course I just responded, well, yeah, let's talk about it. And hey, Caesar, good to see you, man. Thanks a lot for coming by. Robert, not sure just when I will be coming to Thailand. Hopefully next year sometime if they open up travel. So by the time maybe they all have boyfriends, there'll be plenty. Don't worry about it. Live stream with Gracie and you would be cool. A live stream with Gracie and me would be ridiculously cool. Being able to pull it off by having her like right here would be my fantasy. And believe it or not, like I set up the coffee table so that my microphone was here and then the other microphone that was a little bit more sensitive so it'll pick up her voice a little bit better because she's actually got an indoor voice when she's indoors because she's appropriate. And so it was, you know, it was kind of good, you know, but it's weird for her, right? I mean, if she and I are just like walking down the street and we're talking, that makes sense to her, but to actually sit down and do it, it's like a little like, what, you know, and that's true for most people. And most people don't wake up in the morning and be like, oh dude, I cannot wait to do a 4-hour morning show, you know? So I'm a little odd that way, but I would love to be able to do that. And of course, you know, I've been like, oh, well, we can just do it with technology. We'll just use Zoom. And the speed with which of that success would not occur. OMG. Joseph, thank you so much for the live chat, for the super chat, my friend. I am really, really honored, buddy. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate that. Philippines on Demand. Hey, brother, what's going on, man? Love from Davao. $5 for a laptop. Yeah, absolutely, man. Every little bit helps. Joseph, you're the best, buddy. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you. I'm honored. And oh, okay. So here's something, because you know how I've told you guys that like I really appreciate this money, right? And I have no doubt that there are some people, probably haters, that are like, he's full of crap. You know, he's lying. He doesn't. How the hell could he appreciate $5 so much? I'll tell you exactly how much I appreciate $5. When I make tuna sandwiches, Captain, good to see you. MedTech says that most tuk-tuks have 2-cylinder engines, but some high-end ones have 3-cylinder engines. So that's why I was actually fairly surprised, MedTech, at the ones that I saw there in Koh Sichang, as well as in Sriracha over on the mainland, basically. Pardon me. Because I mean, these were like small 4-cylinder engines that were, and these things go pretty fast. You know, I mean, it was basically like taking, you know, like a front wheel drive like Volkswagen or something, you know, where they cram the engine and the transmission sort of together. Any really small front wheel drive car, not just Volkswagens, of course, but there was, you know, it was like, wow, these are like really powerful. But anyway, so $5. So, and as you know, YouTube takes some, but like I've said before, that doesn't bother me at all. In fact, the fact that I have this effectively 100% reliable, even though there's, you know, technical imperfections in it that, of course, I wax on far too long about. But anyway, so my tuna fish sandwiches. When I make tuna fish, what I do is I take the tuna out of the can. Step one. And then I like to hard boil some eggs and chop up some eggs and put some in there. Sometimes I'll put some celery in there. Many people will use mayonnaise, which I've been doing thus far, but I'm a Miracle Whip guy. And for some reason, I've just been like, no. I'm not going to bother with that. I will, you know, I'll get to that eventually. I'll get to the stage of Miracle Whip someday when I grow up here in Thailand. Anyway, so I Googled it the other day, right? And I'm like, okay, where can I get this stuff? And indeed, happy Father's Day to all the fathers. I'm not going to overdo that ever. We should just continue. And yeah, Aaron, fair enough. So step 1.5 after I, do the thing is to you push the cover into the tuna, and I get out I usually buy mine in spring water. My dad's an olive oil guy, and I can appreciate that, but I'm a spring water guy. So anyway, so I get the drainage, thank you, and then I the hard boiled eggs, and I put that in there, and I like to use Miracle Whip in there. So anyway, so I'm like, okay. And if you've, one of the things that JC, not Jeremy from Do More Life, but JC from retiredchief.asia, one of the statements that he makes is, things that are disproportionately expensive, things that normally Thais don't eat, right? Well, there's a market over here, and if you've been over here, you've probably seen it. It's called Villa Market, and it's effectively, if you were to close your eyes and open them up inside of a Villa Market here in Bangkok, certainly, you'd be like, oh, I'm at a Whole Foods in Southern California, or anywhere in the U.S. for that matter. Can't wait to overpay. So you overpay if the whole thing. So over here, okay, so to the point of why is $5 important? Because two of you guys gave me $5 yesterday, and with the amount that YouTube takes, it's about $7 in my pocket. So I went out, and to keep it cheap, because I knew I was going to overpay, because it's disproportionately expensive because Thais do not like Miracle Whip. So I take the bus over there, 10 baht each way. No air conditioning, old bus. It was awesome. It was great. I love it. And anyway, so I bought a container of Miracle Whip. And with the conversion, it was $7.06. And I honestly, even when there's a food shortage and there's a blizzard or something in New England and they cannot truck the food to the stores, I think maybe I've paid $4.99. It was the last bottle that was available on the Eastern Seaboard kind of thing. And but again, it was it was at Villa Market. So I mean, the price of a half a gallon of milk in Thailand is approximately 90 baht, and that's 7-Eleven, that's Big C, that's wherever you go. Except if you go to Villa Market, the exact same producer of that milk charges 20% more just because it's a Villa Market. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna overpay for this, and I knew I was gonna, but it was 215 baht for a jar. So anyway. Trust me, $5 is, I really appreciate it. But it's funny. I've been thinking about the whole laptop thing. And I've mentioned to you guys before the fact that I know what I want, right? But it comes with an Intel processor that's not really available here. I'm considering going with AMD. And I almost pulled the trigger yesterday when I was over at Banana. So I think I'm going to cruise back there and check that out. But anyway, so it's definitely on my list. It's one of those things that's really important. But apology to GTLG. Gotta love Thailand. Comment stop scrolling until I refreshed. Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, guys. That sometimes happens. And Chuck and Paige have a YouTube site, and Paige's father builds tuk-tuks for a living. Oh, that is so cool. That's awesome. Duke's mayonnaise, huh? Okay, I'll have to try that because I've been buying Best Foods over here just because it's actually reasonably priced and it's everywhere. Like I can get it from Big C, I can get it delivered with Happy Fresh, and it doesn't cost any extra money. So that's kind of cool. If you notice, I'm still sniffling. I'm trying Allegra now as a solution to what I believe are, well, what I know is annoying. But basically are my allergies. I think at least that's the way that they're manifesting. So that's it's a necessary evil, I suppose. But living in a city that when there's not COVID, there's a lot of air pollution, or certainly more than I'd like. That's for sure. So to gotta love Thailand's point, my girlfriends, apostrophe S, girlfriends, plural, asking me, about guys and, meeting a good girl and that sort of thing. And, I suppose it depends where you are, but I mean, if nothing else, right? I mean, and obviously the penetration into the YouTube market that I have with my channel is significantly less than, let's say, Rike's, right? But Rike arguably is focused on the Philippines. Rob, definitely, because it seems like we all sort of know the same. If we were to like open up the Cool Kids table, right? Like all of these other guys would show up with their cameras and we'd all have dinner. We'd have burgers with, of course, Miracle Whip. Best burger I ever had, peanut butter bacon burger. Gotta love that. And no mayonnaise. The dating discussion, Rike has started, like a Facebook group, like Single Friends of Rike, right? And so for the most part, that's in the Philippines. And, there are definitely Facebook groups, usually not pages, but groups that, cater to people looking for, but then it becomes sort of a dating site. And sadly, it seems that sort of eventually it turns into something that is not well respected, right? It seems that way. I'm not sure whether it starts out that way, but anyway, because penetration, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you like those words that I use? That's a pretty big word. That's an awfully big word for a 14-year. What does pedophile mean? I do want to talk about that, though, because I think one of the things that probably the most common thing that I get asked still, because again, it's my experience and my opinion versus some other guy that's done it before. Mike, what kind of visa do you have? How did you get your visa? And why do you have that visa? And how do I get the visa that's best for me, right? And so that's a big discussion over here, and I understand why. Because the visa system in Thailand is not necessarily simple. I believe it's not labeled that way. I believe it's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. So go more hike. If we're gonna have a topic which is rare, of course, for this, ADHD thing I got going on upstairs, then yeah, we could talk about dating. So, but what I wanted to, so that's the first thing, visas. The second thing is, Gracie, right? Like, how did you guys meet, and how did that go, and that sort of thing. And usually, it's after someone will basically, oh, look at that Aztec. Wow, I only just got notified. I got seriously, dude, I'm sorry about that. Well, at least you got notified, and I'm glad you're here because I got to tell you, dude, Damo and I were like, dude, what the hell is up with Aztec? He's like giving me a hard time yesterday. I'm taking care of myself. I didn't show up, but oh no, Aztec's here way early, and he's really cool. Damo's not, Ha, ha, ha. Well, happy Father's Day, Aztec. Hope you're well. And so to that point, right? So, I'm not obviously Gracie's daughter's father, right? Biological, certainly. And I try and take on certainly the role of a adult leader, and I try and set some type of example for Eureece that is ideally positive, and provide in various ways, right? To the point where, I mean, this almost made me cry, guys. To the point where she's like, "Oh, I want to be an engineer like Tito Mike." And Tito is basically uncle, right? So it's like kind of like Uncle Mike, but so all the kids in the neighborhood, like literally all of them, sometimes at the same time, call me Tito Mike. So anyway, so I'm Tito Mike, and that's pretty neat, right? Like, I mean, I've never fathered, right? So I don't know what that feels like. I don't know what it really means to say, "Hey, happy Father's Day." I can tell you that years ago, if someone had said "Happy Father's Day" to me, I would have been like, "Ah, crap, really? I didn't even know." And so, but now it's sort of this role that I've gratefully and very easily, interestingly enough, taken on, because if you were to ask me 5 years ago, Mike, what's going to be your ideal mate? I'm like, okay, well, she's basically going to be, within this age range. She's going to have this weight. She's going to be this physical size. She's going to have the ability to speak English, sort of, regardless of whether she's Thai or Filipina or Vietnamese or whatever. I was, for that would have been my checklist 5 years ago. And very likely it would have been like, she doesn't have any kids, right? And when I met Gracie, I don't remember not knowing that she had a daughter. So we either like, "Hey, g'day, good to see you, Stuck." And rather, I'm glad to see you guys are saying hello to each other. That's awesome. It's the Go More Hike. Oh my God, you're just so adorable. That's funny, dude. Right on. Stuck says, "I'm trying not to do the long distance relationship thing anymore, and I'll wait. I can move there." I absolutely agree. So that's the first thing, right? In other words, I wouldn't have met and stayed with Gracie had I not physically met her. If I had met her because we met online, right? I mean, I was physically in the Philippines, but we met online, and then of course, from there, I'd literally just walked down the beach path in Boracay and physically met her. But I would not have, continued with the relationship that we started and then now have if I had only just met her online. So Stacks, that's pretty good. Good for you, man. The Father's Day varies by country. So, which date to choose? Well, yeah, that's a very good question, right? I mean, and yeah, that's true. Kind of like Thanksgiving, right? There's Canadian Thanksgiving and there's U.S. Thanksgiving. So I'm basically saying to people that it's Sunday in June, the third Sunday, and so therefore happy Father's Day in America, kind of thing. Now, Father's Day in Thailand, I believe, is the king's birthday. I believe they're the same, and I believe the queen's birthday is then Mother's Day. I don't know that for sure. If I'm wrong, trust me, I am not trying to be disrespectful in any way to any of the fathers or mothers in Thailand and or the royal family, of course, but I believe that's the origin of the dates that occur here for Father's Day and Mother's Day. Maybe. At least that's what I believe and know thus far. And Captain says, "I'm glad you're happy, Mike." Thanks, Captain. I appreciate it, man. Yeah. Mother's Day is the Queen's birthday. Okay, cool. Yeah. See, now that one I seem to really, really know. You met online in which dating app? Okay. So, Go More Hike, we met on Badoo. And the nice thing about Badoo at the time, and again, you got to remember, this is like almost 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, was that at least in the Philippines, and again, where I was in Boracay, right? So, I mean, I wasn't in like Angeles City using this thing. So, I mean, there's a context. Anyway, I mean, and there's obviously varying degrees of mate that are available. I mean, what does Jeremy call them? I know drinking companions, but the other, like workout trainers or something, like personal trainers, right? And so there's plenty of personal trainers in Boracay. Gracie's not one of those people. But the neat thing about it at the time was like literally on there, I think one of the first 1 or 2 girls that I met in Boracay using Badoo, we just like hung out and had dinner. In fact, one of them I remember took me to this burger place that was like all the way up in, I think, Station 1 or whatever the furthest north station is in Boracay. I can never remember whether it's 1, 2, 3 going south or 3, 2, 1. I think it's 1, 2, 3. Anyway, the furthest north station. Amazing burger. And what was funny is I'm eating this burger and I'm like, man, how come I've never heard of this place? This place makes great burgers. So I posted something on Facebook. Enrique responds with, "Okay, dude, here's my video of like when I went to Boracay and told everybody like this is the best place for burgers." So I'm like, good to see that I'm up on the current news here and I'm actually following Enrique like I should be, But anyway, So yeah, and we just had a, so it's available for that. I cannot speak to how it works like today. Like if I were to install it today and then like, go out into Bangkok, maybe it would work. I do have a buddy and he's used, Jeremy went through the process of meeting girls on, was it Date in Asia? His more recent video? I can't remember, but in any case, one of those sort of websites, but for primarily apps. And I had tried those too. But what I liked about Badoo is, again, there was sort of that, again, it wasn't, I wasn't sitting there and, filling out a profile. Like, it wasn't match.com or something like that, where it was just sort of, casually meeting people. But it was, obviously what worked. And, 4.5 years later now, I used to be saying 4 years later, but now that we haven't seen each other in the last half year, we're still together 4.5 years later. And, but anyway, so that was pretty successful for me. And again, the nice thing about it is like, okay, well, this is like the step 0.5, for example, but until you really meet them, right? And we've talked about that before. And in fact, I think on Jeremy's channel, he did a very specific live stream on that, which is great. But it was around the whole, like, how do you tell? What are some signs? And for me, it's like when you go out to dinner with the girl and if she's not nice, again, there's a lot of things that, like, okay, if she does this, whatever, but if she doesn't do this, that's even, and if they're nice to the waitress staff, if they're nice to the staff and that sort of thing. But if they're annoying or they're flippant or they're, mightier than thou, and that is their attitude towards the wait staff, then I have a big problem with that. And it's kind of a red flag for me. And Gracie wasn't like that. In fact, she's like, because I'm like, hey, you want, so, big spender. Hey, let's, eat here, whatever. And, but where she took me that had the best food in Boracay, of course, is down this little alley. And even if hasn't rained in a while, there's like mud and water. Like, I don't know where it comes from. It's like, it's gotta be runoff or something. But anyway, it's down this little alley and you're going down there and smoothie shop or whatever. And then there is this little restaurant that is packed with Filipinos. And it is truly some of the best Filipino food I've ever had. And so Gracie took me there. And of course we had a wonderful time and that sort of thing. But our first date was basically at a restaurant, right in close to, it was physically on the beach. Like, in other words, they took the chair and they said, okay, here's the high tide line. Blam, we're putting the chair here and we're going to overcharge this bozo for some spaghetti. And so we had a great time and, we got to know each other that way. And Captain asked, is Boracay an expensive island? So it is expensive compared to the rest of the Philippines. MedTech says that bad attitude red flag applies to us too. Yeah, I'm kind of a fan of that. Gio in the Philippines has some great tips on dating. Yeah, no doubt. And he's we all have our own sort of experiences and tips and things like that, right? I don't get into a whole lot of that on the channel here because, because there's a lot of content out there that I think guys are already finding valuable. So really all I can do is share like how I met Gracie and how I have the current relationship I have, which, I like to think is pretty damn healthy and it's awesome. And I'm not leaving it anytime soon. The drinking companion and personal trainer. Thanks a lot, more heck, I forgot. I've not heard it. Oh, you not heard it, Badoo? Yeah, it's actually, I don't know if it's really popular now. It was really popular then. I've heard guys talk about Tinder, and again, I haven't used any of these in over 4 years, right? But I think Tinder, I think I installed it once when I was in Pattaya, like years ago. But I didn't like it. It didn't work out for me, kind of thing. Badoo had always worked out really well for me. I got to meet really nice people. And for the most part, everyone that I met was decent. There weren't a whole lot of red flags. It was just like, oh, this just doesn't fit kind of thing. Or it's like I'm on vacation and I only want to hang out, for a couple of weeks or whatever. And then I'm going back. So anyway, that was the one. And again, at the end of the day, there's no downside to trying it once you get over here. Nor really, I did use it when I was back in the US. But honestly, what happened, I never started using any of these apps until I came to Southeast Asia. So I came to Southeast Asia, started using these apps, and I met girls. Well, initially, certainly, I just met Thai girls, right? So I'm like, this is amazing. Well, then I go back home and I try and use it there. And even if I did meet girls there, I would just be like, yeah, but you're not Thai. Sorry, you're not Thai. That's a big red flag for me, And so it was like that thing, like, oh, okay, this is forget it. You know what? I'm just going to obsess about work until I can get my ass back to Thailand, and then then I'll start using this app again. But because it's location based, right? I mean, you can put in Bangkok if you want from Los Angeles and start looking, but I mean, it's got a finite. You don't do long distance relationships via Badoo. Let's just say that. Hi from a new sub. Hey guys, Warwick Donnelly. Thank you very much for coming by, buddy. Welcome to the Cool Kids table. I've switched from looking in Thailand to looking in the Philippines for a partner, better values, and just so much easier with fluent English. There is no debate on the second part of that. The values thing, I mean, again, that's definitely something that people have said. And again, I love Thailand. I live in Thailand. I really like the Thai people, but my girlfriend's Filipina, and I love her values. I love the fact that they are from a farm. I love the fact to the whole Father's Day. I love the fact that her daughter is 13 and she pretty much wants to be 13. And that's awesome for me, because I mean, coming from like certainly Southern California, I mean, by the time you're 14, you're like, well, I mean, dude, seriously, in where I lived in California and places that I would go to in California, it was incredibly common for a girl when she like turns 18 and sometimes even sweet 16, which I thought was kind of ridiculous, to get a boob job, And I'm like, dude, you're 18. Like, I don't get it. And there's also some other surgeries that I find to be just insane on body parts that it's like, look, dude, no matter what it looks like, a guy's going to like it kind of thing. So you guys can like take that wherever you want. But the point is that, and where I worked, University of San Diego, there were a lot of, freshmen, juniors, a lot of college girls that had that. And it was one of those deals where they kind of got it over the summer before they started, school. And many of them were freshmen. And I'm like, this is so bizarre. Anyway, I'm not saying that that's a big values discussion, but my point is that there are things that I believe that certainly girls, let's just say, I'm sure guys do the same thing. Like when I was 18, I definitely wanted to be 21. Trust me. So I wanted to be older, and I wanted to hang out with the big kids, right? When I was like a junior, I wanted to, oh, hey, I'm hanging out with a senior. Steve wants to hang out with me. No big whoop, whatever. And so there was, there's always that sort of carrot potentially for some people, but Eurice does not want to. It's kind of cool. I mean, she's got some sort of forward-looking goals occasionally, but for the most part, she's living in the moment. I mean, she's living in, it's high school, but it's effectively junior high, right? But they don't split it up that way, at least where she goes to school. And so anyway, the dating situation. I was just thinking about that. That's why I paused. I was thinking, because I rarely pause. Maybe it's different now than it was 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I don't know. Well, okay, so it's COVID, right? I mean, everything's different than it was 5 months ago. And, people's priorities arguably could have changed. Anyway, so Warwick, welcome to the Cool Kids table. And he says to Patrick, you will never be seen as an equal in Thailand in the relationship, whereas in the Philippines, you will be put on a pedestal is the short answer. I think that's fairly accurate. I mean, again, it depends who you meet, but it'll be that description right there is more of the majority of it. Put it this way, it's a very accurate generalization. Let's just say that. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? So in other words, the reason that the Thai people have been pretty successful, let's say medically with this COVID thing, and again, there's multiple factors. Yeah, it's a temperature. Oh, it's the mask, whatever. But it's a culture, right? So I should have taken a photo of this, but I've seen it in the malls. And so basically in the malls now, I mean, obviously, there's the whole temperature taking thing, and then you scan a QR code to know when you arrive and when you leave, sort of thing. If you don't have a phone, then you write down your phone number. You could lie, of course. But again, the point is that the Thais are very Thai, and they're very, I'm proud to be an American, But I think that being a Thai, you're infinitely more proud to be Thai than an American is proud to be an American. Let me just throw that out there. And I love, so to the sign that I saw in the mall, it was basically like, let's all get back together. And the name of their app that you use to scan in and out of places, the translation of it effectively is called Thai Win. In other words, we win. Like, we're great, we're good together, and we're gonna solve this as a whole country. And we may not like the fact that we have to wear a mask, but there's no one in Thailand that's like throwing their arms up in the air saying, "Oh my God, my constitutional rights are being violated because you're asking me to wear a mask," And again, you can tell by the tone of my voice that I'm quite cynical about that, but I don't live there right now, and I get it. I get that individuality is important, and being told what to do, regardless of what it is, bothers people on varying levels. So I'm not saying that what's being done in the United States is incorrect. I'm just very happy with what's being done here. Let me just say that. That I am grateful to be living here because I'm experiencing the positive side of what you talked about, Warwick. But to the dating thing, it can be a negative, right? Because they're like, look, yeah, we're Thai, we're really proud of, oh yeah, but you're not Thai. Well, you're a foreigner and you're really cool, but so here's what's funny is, there will be people's first impression of Thailand could potentially be, oh, the people are really nice. Certainly many years ago too. And they're not, they're open-minded and they're not prejudiced because they don't they don't beat up lady boys on a regular basis. Like, the whole gender thing is no big deal. Whereas it seemed like we needed to make a huge deal out of it in the United States to be like, oh, no. We really respect these transgenders and that sort of thing. And then it became this big, thing because people were being persecuted initially. And anyway, the point is that they are very prejudiced in Thailand. I've been on Walking Street and you got to remember that like Walking Street's like, okay, tourists, you all come here. Basically the only Thais that pretty much hang out on Walking Street in Pattaya are the ones that work there. They're not like, oh, hey, let me go down there with my buddies. Like, no. They're way in going to nightclubs there. But to that point, there was this nightclub and it was fairly if you know Walking Street, right? So, iBar, right? In Insomnia. So it was like right around. And there was a sign on the door. And the odd thing was it was in Thai. It wasn't in English. It might have been in Hindi and I just couldn't read it or whatever. But the point is that it said no Indians allowed, right? And obviously that means, people from India. It doesn't mean Native Americans, And so I was like, wow, it was really weird. Because I was literally standing in line to get in and the guys in front of me were Indian guys. Because, they kind of hang out in packs, right? So it's like a whole pack of them that were going to go in. And the doorman was like, no. And he literally just like looked over their heads and he waves me in and I'm like, what? He like tells me to come here. And I'm thinking, oh man, what's he going to, he's going to let these guys in and he's going to ask me for money. And he just says, no, come on in, and he just like lets me in and I walk up the stairs and I'm looking back and I'm going, that was a little weird. But nonetheless, yeah, there is prejudice that exists here for sure. And so that's the negative side of it. The other thing, too, about dating in the Philippines is it's super easy. Like, you don't really need an app. It's kind of like the old fish in a barrel thing, right? And so anyway, I agree. And, again, I'm walking my talk. The woman that I want to spend the rest of my life with, Gracie, is Filipina. So Robert Dawson, good to see you, my friend. My ex-wife, Ty, tried to talk me into getting her a boob job. Told her I liked her as she was and new boob jobs had to be redone every 20. Yeah, you say every 20 years anyways. So the idea didn't really appeal to me. So I had a girlfriend in Northern California and she had one. And in about 10 years, she actually needed hers changed. And so that's interesting because and since having her in my life, right? So it's kind of funny. It seems like the more when I would date a girl that had, implants, that she would know all of her girlfriends not all of them, but many of her girlfriends would have it too, right? Have had it done too. It's like this, Brian, you again? It's like this club that they're all of a sudden part of. Their cool kids table is, the cool boobs table or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I think Gracie's joked around about it or whatever, but My response is, okay, well, we can do two things. We can either take the money and have that done, or we can send Eurice to college. You decide. So the good news is that I effectively just guilt her into, not wanting to, but whatever. Yeah, I don't. Again, Southern California, right? I've had a lot of friends that have had them. Worked with ladies that got them, and it's kind of funny. I would say at least 50% of the women that I know that get them, once they get them and I see them, in my mind, and depending upon how well I know them, I will respond this way, and because if I don't know them very well, then, oh yeah, you're beautiful. They look awesome. Congratulations. But in my mind, at least 50% of the time, I've been like, why did she do that? Like, I mean, she wasn't deformed before and she didn't look like a young boy. I mean, she wasn't, flat chested or anything. That's the majority of the ones that I know that have it. But they just want to be bigger, right? And I just like, that's kind of interesting. But in any case, I mean, I'm not a woman and I don't know what it's like to like I was thinking about that yesterday. I'm walking through Big C and there's a girl standing there. And what's very common, which is I would hate to have to do this. I guess in my mind, I think they're uncomfortable. But they wear pantyhose, and that's very common here and in the Philippines as well. If you're like a worker in a grocery store or a cashier or something like this, and I just walked by and noticed the girl, and I was standing there, and I thought to myself, God, this must be sort of annoying to have to wear because I can't see a Thai person wanting to wear those. It's like, oh yeah, well I'm going to wear these anyway, so I'll just work here, and then as I was walking away, I had this thought in my mind, like going, man, I'm so glad I'm a guy. It must be just such a pain in the ass to be a woman. I mean, you got to do all this stuff because, I mean, think about it. Like there is a large percentage of square footage in many stores that deal with makeup, that deal with basically wax and colored plastic that you like apply to your skin to make yourself look better, right? And sometimes it really does work, black powder, whatever the material is, But but I'm just like, God, thank God I don't have to do that. And then, the other thing too, though, is like, thank God I'm bald. But I understand that the majority of men have hair and they're like, no, I'm going to get my hair cut like every 5 weeks or I'm in 6 weeks or, and before, conditioner, shampoo. So I'm really glad I don't have to do that too. So I guess suppose in general that the trajectory of my life is remove everything that actually takes time, sort of thing, especially when it comes to personal hygiene. Which is sort of odd, which is why, of course, I'm drinking, carbonated high fructose corn syrup, because that, my friends, is the breakfast of champions. And actually, 3-in-1 is the breakfast of champions. The breakfast of the cool kids table rotates to 100 plus now. Captain says, I used March 15 years ago to try and find an Australian girl. Flew from Dallas to the Gold Coast for love. Interesting. Never teletext in that, Mike. Oh, what did I say? I can't remember. I'm sorry. I'm behind. That was it. That was about 6 minutes ago. You said that. So can you put a stock ticker and a weather map on the screen? There's not enough up there right now. It's only the pigeon cam and the chat and me. 3 layers, dude. Simple. Anyway, Brian, thank you for coming by. I appreciate it. Patrick says, my concern about the Philippines is safety. I will argue that you're right. I will argue that Thailand is one of the safest countries around here, especially for a farang. I mean, Bangkok, one could argue there are areas that are like unsafe, kind of thing. But I honestly don't know where they are. And if there even looks to be some degree of unsafety, I just turn around and I go the other way. I mean, I have not been to more than maybe 50 different places in Bangkok. And there's 5,000 different places in Bangkok. There's like these little, ampos, right? These little like sort of neighborhoods. And within the province and that sort of thing. So anyway, I do feel safer here. Now that said, if we're talking about, meeting girls that we would label as like good girls or ones with good family values, in my experience, because of course it's with Gracie, and I've met other girls, but I just haven't been back to, it hasn't gotten anywhere near serious as it did with Gracie, right? So, but I met them and they sort of, came from the province and I met them elsewhere. And so I would label them as having good family values. Let me just say that based on the amount that I like knew them up to that point. But having actually gone there, gone to the province, gone to Hamandan, been to Gracie's parents' house and have been just honored and I've never felt so loved. I mean, I feel quite loved in my own family. Okay, so I have felt that loved. I knew what it felt like when it first, came to me in the Philippines. I'm like, oh, I know exactly how this feels because this is how I got to grow up. Thank you, God. But yeah, I mean, welcomed into the family big time, and that was just awesome. I mean, they welcomed me into their home. I mean, they fed me. It's just like, and I don't take that lightly, man. I mean, I don't take $5 as a super chat lightly, and I don't take some parents inviting me into their home and feeding me lightly either. It is a big, big honor, and it was just wonderful. And it was great to get to know her family, great to get to know her brothers. I met her brother for the first time in the Manila airport because I flew in and then Gracie was coming to get me. So I was waiting for Gracie to show up and she goes, oh, well, I'll just have my brother come by and he can like chat with you. And I'm like, okay. And I was a little nervous, right? Because I'm like, oh, man. But she's like, oh, no, he knows English. And I'm like, I believe you believe that because Gracie's English is fantastic, by the way. But his English is pretty good because he actually drives a trike in Manila, which I did not realize that driving a trike in Manila there's a significant amount of outlay for that. I mean, yes, there's the vehicle, but there's the permitting and then there's the special lanes you have to go in. I didn't realize there was so much into it. Whereas in the province, it's like, I'm going to put basically a tarp over a frame of metal and I'm going to drive around. Yes, there's some permitting that's involved, but it's nothing like Manila. That was amazing to me. Anyway, the point is big city and interfaces with, I almost said Farang, which is, but anyway, with foreigners in Manila. So his English was like, okay. And we were able to sort of communicate. And I think we sat at like a Burger King or something that waited for Gracie to get there. But he was really, really nice. And like, man, this guy, I mean, he was nice. I mean, he was just like a nice guy, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I met her other brother. So I met her sister for the first time when I met Gracie. They were both working in Boracay. And then I met her, that was her younger sister. And then I met her older sister for the first time when we, so if you know the Philippines, right? If you know where Boracay is, or you can just Google Boracay on maps and you can see where it is. So it's an island to the north of, just across the way is Caticlan, which is now an airport, but it didn't used to be. The way you used to go to Boracay is you used to go to Calibo, and you used to take basically a 2.5 hour van ride up to the coast there, up to the ferry, and then take these little ferries over to Boracay. And so, so Gracie and I we first started our relationship, and here's to the point of Boracay being expensive. Most, at least with Gracie and many other people that I've met that like work there, girls. What they do is they make money and then they spend close to 100% of it on living there, on rent, on food, on transportation. It depends where you work. I mean, Gracie worked at this ridiculously expensive spa to the point where it's like, well, I want a massage from you, but I want it at this other job you have. I don't want to go to the amazing spa where like the South Koreans, go, or the Koreans go, because the Koreans, it's, what I discovered about the Koreans in the Boracay, when they spend money, they, Dr. Katz, hi, good to see you. It was very bizarre how they traveled. They traveled with for two types of U.S. currency, $1 bills and $100 bills. And I mean, there would be times where a guy would have like this, and he just like, I don't have any ones. Here's a $100 bill. And I'm like, okay, he's pretty wealthy. And so anyway, shiny red ball, right? I'm going to have massive, attention deficit. But the interesting thing is when I met her, so what happened is the reason I met her older sister is because I said, look, Gracie, this is ridiculous. I mean, you can do massage, and because she's a professional massage therapist, she has a certification where she can take people who have strokes, stroke victims and that sort of thing. So she can work in, not that there's tons of them, but convalescent home or something like that. Anyway, so I'm like, okay, well, let's move down to Calibo because I can actually fly in and out of Calibo from other parts of Southeast Asia, as therefore you can fly out of Calibo and meet me in other parts of Southeast Asia. So let's get an apartment there. And we got an apartment, and it was like, I think we paid, the woman wanted a certain amount, and I said, no, forget it. I said, walk up to her with 50,000 pesos in your hand and say, this is what we're going to pay for a year here. And she's like, no, she'll never go for it. I'm like, give it a shot. Let me know what happens. Calls me back. She's like, oh my God, we have a 2-bedroom apartment for 50,000 pesos a year. And trust me, it looked accordingly. And so anyway, it it was Kalibo, and so then her older sister lived there and did massage, and so Gracie moved there, and then she didn't. She kind of stopped working basically once she left she stopped working to the point where she was like working like 6 days. Well, actually, Gracie works 7 days a week. When she works, and so she stopped doing that, and then she was helping me do some things in Boracay in the Philippines as far as banking and other administrative tasks really that I just simply couldn't do because I wasn't A, Filipino, or B, physically there, and so she would help out the team with that. And then, of course, she would come join me. So anyway, I met her older sister for the first time there, and she was a great person. She was really, really cool. And then when I went to the farm, then I finally met her older brother, and he's amazing. Okay, so I'm walking up basically through this grass path, and there's literally banana leaves that are twice the size of my body, and I'm walking up through there, and I see the house in front of me, and her older brother walks out, and sees me and smiles. I have never seen a smile so massive on a person. I mean, he has these and they're perfect. He has these perfect white teeth, and he smiles. And I was just like, oh my God, I feel so welcome. And I thought, okay, well, that's, it's new. And of course, my rose-colored glasses. Yeah, I feel welcome. But I mean, totally welcomed me. He didn't speak any English either. And, I was able to communicate by doing this, a whole lot and smiling and saying yes, and I knew how, and, that's a real bummer for me is that while they do, I mean, Gracie knows English, as does her sisters and her one brother, but her parents don't. And, I've been really just lazy, quite frankly, at learning Tagalog. And it's also hard to learn Tagalog when you're in Thailand. Okay. So it's not like I'm getting any sort of Tagalog lessons by abrasion. Whereas if I was living in Boracay, there would be opportunity to learn new words. And, after being in the Philippines, I think for probably 3 days, I had like enough to be, hi, how are you? What's your name? Where's the bathroom? Kind of thing. And so I learned that sort of stuff. But anyway, are we still on the safety in the Philippines? Oh, no, we kind of jumped around. But anyway, we're on me describing ad nauseum my wonderful experience of meeting a Filipino family for the first time. So that's kind of a pleasurable memory for me, which is kind of cool. My concern about Gomor Hike says, speaking of implants, I'm thinking of a vlogger that has them now. I'm not a fan. There is a woman who has ridiculously large ones, and she kind of looks like a circus freak. But she's really cool, actually. She's from China, and she's got probably like about 1 million subs now. And I can't remember what the title of her channel is, but anyway, so she's a tech girl, and so she's not an engineer, but she's actually pretty technically focused, and she does reviews of stuff or whatever. But at first it was like, you see her her little thumbnails that basically are like, clickbait kind of thing. So I watched a couple, and after a while I'm like, okay, like I like the content that she's producing, but I mean, your body is really annoying, which is very bizarre, right, for me to say. But again, and I understand what you mean when you say you're not a fan, because I'm just like, nah. Stuck says, I've only dated once from an app. I either met them at markets or through friends, but I understand why some people use the apps. Yeah, and I've done that too. I've walked up to them and said hello. But it's, the other reason I did it is because while I could walk up to any of them and say hello, especially in the Philippines, they were using it too. So it was kind of like, okay, well, I'll do this because, and then what I would do is be like, okay, where are you? Oh, I'm working at this scuba shop, dive shop or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'll walk. I'm like literally like 4 paths from there. Cause that's kind of what station are you in? And like, how far away are you from me in here in Boracay was kind of the name thing. Go More Hike says, I mean, if the woman is not good looking, then maybe, yeah, I suppose. Had a boss who had a wife and she had implants, to each their own. Yeah, totally, dude. I mean, nose jobs, or people get those. I mean, we know of all of these words because they're common, right? Especially if you live in California, it seems it's more common there. Who let me judge? It's Brian. Go More Hike says, maybe I shouldn't name names. Shy a little bit. All good. Aztec says, first thing I wonder when I see fake is, does the undercarriage match? No idea why genuine females would do that. Looking trans, doesn't make you. Yeah, I totally did. I mean, I get it. I'm right there with you. The whole natural, it's if you're attractive, then you're attractive. I mean, a woman who's attractive in like really baggy sweatpants and like a t-shirt that's 4 sizes too small or too big, rather, all day long. And I, selfish. I'm biased, okay, but I think Gracie's quite attractive, regardless of what she's, And Jeremy said he had one near altercation, but he didn't say where. Yeah, I've had altercations. It's no big deal. Aztec says, should I moderate my own comment? Well, by saying that, my friend. That's okay, dude. On these live streams, for the most part, my mom just listens. She doesn't read. So you're good so far. Gilmore Hike says, if you can say, what's some danger you ran into the Philippines and how did you deal with it? So that's a good question. I actually have not run into really any danger in the Philippines. So that would be interesting if other people have a story and then we could share. Captain Photon says, do they have Mountain Dew there? Good breakfast drink. They absolutely do have Mountain Dew. They don't have Diet Mountain Dew. That's my favorite. But Mountain Dew is actually, I was going to say it's more expensive, meaning it's like 3 baht more. But yeah, 7-Eleven has many of the drinks that you'll expect to have. They even, like many 7-Elevens now, even have Big Gulps. When I first started coming here, they didn't have that. They didn't have the carbonated, machine, right, where you get, and they certainly didn't have like the triple awesome, Big Gulp awesome sauce bucket of, it comes with a shoulder strap and it's like 85 ounces and free refills, that they have at 7-Eleven in the US. But they do have Big Gulps at some of them now. Patrick Mike says they have Mountain Dew, but I can never find it. Oh, yeah. I mean, like literally, if I go to the 7-Eleven, it's got to be a bigger 7-Eleven. But yeah, for sure. I've bought it. Warwick says, I'd like to hear about the dangers in the Philippines as well. Yeah. Yeah, same. At Gomar Hike's question. Aaron says some of the ingredients in Mountain Dew are banned there, so probably not the like kind they make here. Oh, yeah. So as is the difference in like Diet Coke and Coke Zero, they don't allow aspartame to here. And so it's got a different kind of sweetener. I'm not quite sure what it is. It's probably, what's the one? Oh, God, I can't remember the other kind, the newer kind. I'm seeing the package yellow, right? But anyway. And then also thank you for welcoming Dr. Kitts and Warwick. That was really cool. He came in and started asking some questions right away. I was really honored. That's really awesome. We got a swimmer on the pigeon cam. Oh, do we? Okay, hold on. Let me check and see if we can find. Oh yeah. So that guy who's he does laps back there, and it was interesting because I thought to myself, once I see the lap guy come back and do his laps regularly, then like the pool's going to be open. You know what I mean? And it was good to see him. Like I think it was about a week ago he started doing his laps again, and I'm trying to see if that's hit you guys yet, but because every time I switch, that was a pretty big bird that just flew past there actually. But I do like Mountain Dew. I kind of like this stuff better. I'm not real sensitive to caffeine, but I try and like these 3-in-1s that I drink, they have quite a bit of caffeine. I mean, they're the Nescafe ones are like a little bitter, more bitter, but they have sugar, of course, the whole 3-in-1 thing, right? Sugar, creamer, and of course, coffee. And the Nescafe seem to be a little bit more bitter. I like the Moccona Gold. That's my favorite, but anyway. Yeah, so swimmer cam. Now it's swimmer cam. And it's interesting if I look down there and I see where he's got his see where he's left his clothes. I think that's actually normally where he puts it. It's kind of funny. I mean, you sit up here and you get to know certain commonalities, certain, repetitive sort of things. And even usually in human behavior or whatever, no matter where you are, at least that's what I do. And I find that interesting. Because I'm a creature of habit. I can tell you right now that I sit on the to where that person, I sit on the far right on that like sort of column, if you will, versus the other ones that would be rows, the column of chairs. And I sit over there because when I go down, it's usually in the afternoon and the wind down there, it blows from left to right. And the cool thing is as you're sitting there, even if you're in the direct sun, the wind blows enough such that the water will come over the zero edge, if you will, end of the pool there. And so you sort of get these like little, sprays of water that are coming over. And, it sounds nice too, because it's like a giant fountain, basically, which is the edge of the pool that goes into like, stones that are at the bottom. And so that's where I sit, which I'm sure was crucial for you guys. And that will allow you to leave this live stream so much smarter than when you were here before. MetTech says online dating never worked for me, but I respect that it has been successful for some others. Yeah. Have you tried Mansome? I have. Ross and Rayon did a funny video about it a while back. I never tried it because I thought it'd be too strong. No, it's on it. Well, so there's a couple of different flavors, but the ones that are just and so here's what will happen is like they'll have Mansome in 7-Eleven, Family Mart. What's the other one I go to? Tops, right? Tops Daily, it's right across the street from my place here. And then, of course, there's a 7-Eleven at the base of the condo. There's a 7-Eleven across the street, 100 meters down. I mean, there's 7-Elevens there. You know that. Anyway, so the Mansome. It kind of tastes like Martinelli's. You know how like Martinelli's is effectively the bottle of stuff you buy when guys like me show up at your wedding? And there's going to be traditionally a champagne toast. You're like, we got to buy this for the recovering. So anyway, so Martinelli's, right? Sparkling apple cider, sparkling apple juice, effectively. It's kind of like that. It kind of tastes like watered down apple juice that's got a very little carbonation in it. And it's okay, it's one of those deals that for me, if it's cold, if the beverage is cold, it's refreshing. Otherwise, it's kind of like, now I'm drinking like warm apple juice, But weather looks awesome at the pool. It's cold and wet here in Adelaide. Needs some sunshine. Yeah, it's another pretty nice day. The cloud cover, it's like very hot, the alto nimbus, right? Really thin sort of clouds, not the puffy white ones. But you can see blue sky for sure here in Bangkok. So, I'll tell you, I'll take it, which is really cool. Oh, I wanted to mention something that I just thought of this Side Trip Life, right? So I played his little promo thing yesterday. And what I discovered is that two of the songs that I played, I think they were part of his, I thought they were, copyright protected because I looked in his description and he didn't have them listed or whatever. But what I think happened is I think he's actually bought the rights to those songs. And so therefore I didn't have them. So I needed to just basically go in. YouTube will say, look, dude, we're not monetizing any of this because, you're playing a copyrighted song, or meaning we'll monetize it all day long, but we're giving the money to the producer, not to you, because you use their songs without permission kind of thing. Right. And it wasn't sort of open source music, if you will. So you go in and you can choose an option where it says, okay, well, wherever that song is, then just mute it out. And that was fine because I wasn't talking around it or anything. And all it was text that we were playing. But I'm really looking forward to see what happens with his My Thai Tube and how that works. Because I thought that Everything Asia, the thing that Rike made, was a really interesting concept. And it allowed to be a portal, for people to go. And I went there and checked it out for a couple times and was absolutely honored that, my channel was added to it. And, I get some stuff up there and I look at the metrics and I probably get anywhere from 2 to 5% of the people that come to my channel came from everything-asia.com, but I haven't checked in a while. So anyway, obviously there's no negative side to it for me, certainly. And, I also got to sort of interface with Gio in the Philippines a little bit more because I knew of him through Rike, but I didn't really sort of watch his videos regularly. And then through Everything-Asia, I saw a couple. I said, so I subscribed and I've seen his like live streams in the morning because I think he does them every single morning at like either 7 or 8 his time. I think he does it at 8 his time, but anyway, and they're good. He answers a ton of questions and he gets a bunch of interface with the guys, which is great. So anyway, yeah, it does. It is pretty awesome. And I'm grateful because it's been sort of raining at night. And so not last night, but for many days in a row. So that means, the temperature's not as intense. It was pretty warm the other day, but I was telling my dad, the nice thing is that, yeah, it's warm. It's not like it's cool here in Bangkok. But it was cooler, meaning it was like, 5 or 10 degrees cooler and it was less humidity. So I got home and my shirt wasn't drenched, right? That's kind of that's kind of the litmus test for like, how ridiculously humid is it? And it's like, well, when, 1/3 of the moisture in the air ends up on my shirt when I get home, which is of course why, Thais and now me take 2 to 3 showers a day because we're outdoors at somewhat. Welcome to the cool kids table at Patio Connor Mills. Awesome. Thank you so much, Aztec. Damo says, think you're at the wrong table, Aztec. Ha, ha, ha. How's the shares market going, mate? Nice, man. Aztec says to Damo, Patty can see my comment on the screen. Just being inclusive, bro. Shares, oh my God, after buying, market dropped 9%. It's nearly 2 weeks later, only down a few percent. Yeah, I mean, it goes up and down, right? I mean, it kind of depends. At Damo, no wonder people panic and split. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, is that people panic. And I am absolutely guilty of that. I'm absolutely human. And I got scared when I should have not have gotten scared. I should have gotten bold when everyone else was scared. And I know that logically. I mean, I don't agree with a lot of what Warren Buffett says, but I do agree with his statement around, when people get greedy, I get scared. And when people get scared, I get greedy. And I should have done that. And I know that. I know that works. And I know it I certainly know it from 2008, 2009, because one of the greatest other statements that I heard from him is summon your courage and buy stock. And if I had done that in 2008, then, well, I might have retired before a retirement visa was up. I was capable of a retirement visa, but that's okay. I'm more than happy to be here where I am and have gotten here when I got here. So the other thing is that, relative to the Koh Sichang video, is I'm going to be going to Surat Thani on Tuesday. And so I won't be doing a live stream tomorrow because I just want to get ready for that. I'll probably publish another Koh Chang video over the next, few days, which will be really cool. And what I'm thinking of doing while I'm down there, again, to the whole point of this is live my ass off, but it's like, well, how can I possibly make this live my ass off? Like, in other words, how can I make the majority of the videos that we do here at the Cool Kids table live streams? That would be kind of cool, right? But again, it's based on, finite amount of internet connectivity. If I have my laptop with me and I'm in the middle of nowhere, it basically only lasts about an hour and a half, which again is fine for a live stream in the middle of nowhere. So I'm going to try that while I'm down there. That will be kind of cool. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to just kind of getting out and doing some travel. Although, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I really feel lucky because my condo, it totally fits me. I mean, it really, really works. And so I've been really excited that I kind of I sort of fell into this. I mean, I did ask, or I didn't necessarily ask. He offered a buddy of mine who lives locally, and he was like, hey, well, let's walk down this area, over near Udam Suk kind of thing. He said, let me show you some places around here, and he showed me a condo in his building, and I was like, I don't know, I'm just not feeling it. I don't think this is right. And then he said, well, there's this building down there and there's this building down there. So I'm like, okay. So then I went home and I said, hey, Gracie, let's go for a walk around and see how we feel. So we went for a walk and we walked. Because, I mean, basically at the base of every condo complex, there is usually at least one, which is sort of like the condo ownership company that is leasing out the places, and they deal with that as well as sales. And then sometimes there are like 2 or 3 other companies that are basically just doing the exact same thing. And they're just property management companies, right? So we walked to this one that was actually for the condo complex across the street, just simply because we were walking on that side of the street. And we're like, okay, well, let's look here first and then we'll cross the street. So we go over there, and they were a property management company for that building, as well as this one that's across the street. And so the woman showed us some buildings or some condos over there, and it was like, okay, these are okay. And I was like, yeah, I guess we could probably end up living here. I wanted a washer inside. Obviously I wanted, furnished, and I wanted, a refrigerator and, table. And I did not want to buy furniture. And I was like, okay, well, as long as you have a TV in there and it's good enough, like I don't need a big one and I don't need a new one and, whatever, flat screen. As long as it's a flat screen, it doesn't take up a ton of space. It's not an old analog one that would be lame. But the point is that the features were like there. And then she walked us across the road, and she showed us a condo over here. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's all right. And I'm like, let me know about the price. I mean, here, and she said this is however much it was. And I was like, I don't know, I'm not feeling it. And I offered 2,000 or 3,000 baht less per month. And I said, let me know. And I knew that all she was going to do is basically go back to her office, call the owner, and the owner would say yes. So I was like, fine, whatever. But as we were leaving, we walked down, and there's the property management company that is for this building right by the entrance. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. And so I looked at one, and they had this one advertised for it was like 13,000 baht. I'm sorry. So they did have this one that was advertised. And so I walked in and I said, hey, can you show us that one? And the woman went and showed it to us. And it was whatever it is. I'm not quite sure why we didn't exactly fall in love with it. It wasn't I don't remember whether it was. I definitely didn't think it was worth the price. I do remember that thought, but maybe it didn't have the features or the amenities that we wanted or needed or whatever. So we were leaving, and then the woman said, "So when do you need it?" And I said, "Whenever." Like, I mean, because Gracie was still here. It was at the end of February, and we still had the condo over in the base, over on Nut. And I said, yeah, so I can, I'm going to stay there another, I think it was like 10 days or something. And then I said, look, and then Gracie's going to fly home. And then I'm going to actually spend, the last week in February at a conference down in Pattaya. And then after that, then basically on March 1st, I will need a place to live. Or, if there's an awesome condo and it's not available right away, then what I'll do is I'll just stay in an Airbnb for 1 week or 3 or a month or whatever. And then I'll move into my next place. And she says, okay, so there's this one place that it's available, and it's available March 1st or something like this. And I was like, okay. And she comes up and she shows it to us. Now it was vacant. So I was like, wait, why isn't it? Okay, whatever. But I guess it was either going to be available I don't know. Regardless, it was I could start March 1st, and I think that was when the woman wanted to begin her lease agreement or whatever, for whatever reason that was comfortable for the owner. And so she comes up and she shows it to us, and I'm like, all right, well, yeah, it's cool. It's got a couch thingy that's basically a little bit bigger than a love seat, and it folds out so you can basically watch TV in a pretty comfortable leather couch thing that I'm sitting in right now. The back will angle up, but you can still effectively watch TV from bed. So that was cool. Gracie was here, and I had a king. Oh, that was the other thing too. King size bed. Wanted a king size bed, and this had a king size bed, brand new mattress. It was still in the plastic shrink wrap stuff, and then it had dining room table, but it also had a washer inside and everything. So I said, yeah, definitely, let me go for this place. And it was $13,000. And I said, all right, well, that's cool. But, make sure because there was no TV here. I said, look, have her put a TV in and I'll give her 12,000 baht. And so she's like, okay, great. Agreed. And just so you know, that other place that we looked at that I lowballed them, she sent me a message maybe one day later. And she's like, absolutely, they're ready to go. When can you move in kind of thing? And I'm like, sorry. I looked at another one that's it's got a better view of the pool. It's got a better pigeon cam vantage point, so we're gonna go with that one. But so anyway, I'm stoked that I live here, and so therefore it's not oh my god, if I don't get to Surat Thani, if I don't get the hell out of here, if I don't get down to Koh Samui, then my life is going to be horrible. So it's pretty cool being able to hang out here and certainly obviously talk to you guys. So Warwick says, I'm applying for jobs in the Philippines to attempt to move there, but a slim market, trying within the areas of HR, sales, and management. Yeah, it's going to be, the competition, it depends on how much money you want to make. If you only want to make, for a job like that, if you only want to make $1,000 a month, and that's enough income for you to be able to live, fairly comfortably, because that's what they're going to be paying Filipinos to do it. Unless you're in Manila or Makati, or you basically get a job from a U.S. company in the U.S. or some other Western country, and that company moves you there. Now, just moving there, they're not going to take your U.S. salary and just use that. That's pretty rare. It happens, but it's not common. So they'll give you a little bit of, but they'll give you enough money to basically live a very sort of upper middle class lifestyle. At least that's been my experience for buddies of mine that have done that with international companies, global companies, Dell, IBM, EMC, that sort of thing, HP, those big names that I'm sure they move here to Thailand, and usually, the office is out of Bangkok. They're making less than they made, but again, cost of living obviously is significantly cheaper. But yeah, that's a tough thing to do, really, is to try and get a job in the Philippines. Where are you, Warwick? I can't remember. What part of are you in the US, or are you part of the UK or Australia? I can't remember. If you said, I apologize. Aztec said, I need to rewatch RG's videos again, the 4th time in a row. Yeah, absolutely. His last one, I think I need to watch it another time. Trying to smash in my head how to treat / use the money so I can take advantage of the fluctuations, for sure. Damo says to Aztec, shares are the opposite of Sanopola. Yeah, bum. Aztec says the ETFs didn't strike your interest. Maybe at some stage. Sticking to basics for a while. Makes sense. MetTech says, I didn't see my father for 10 years, but he now has a line account. That's very, very cool. That's very cool. And Go More Hike says, that's a hip dad using line. So Go More Hike, you say you're not a fan of Samui. Now, I assume that's because you went to, Chaweng Beach, and you probably went there during high season. So that's the other reason I'm going now. Not only if I go there, would I not go to that. It's like in the northeastern side of the island where it's incredibly busy, and that's where like all the tourists are. But yeah, I mean, that's like saying I don't like Phuket, but you've only been to Patong in my experience, because I mean, they're like, like, for example, where Rob lives in Phuket, Australia. Hey, good to see you, man. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming by, Warwick. Welcome to the Cool Kids table. So I'm not quite sure. And now if you're like, oh, because I didn't like these specific things in Samui, then I'll be like, I'm looking for tips, basically, buddy, to find out what I might proactively avoid. But yeah, if the main reason you didn't like it is because it was just too damn crowded, then I'm not worried about that now. And in fact, if you've seen any, like I mentioned before, CB Media, he's basically doing all of the things like about a week and a half, 2 weeks ahead of time. And I'm like, this is perfect. I was going to do this anyway, but now he's like doing this ahead of time. And his videos obviously are excellent quality. I'm not going to do everything that he does, but he's going to the places where I would go. And then I'm getting little tips along the way, like, oh man, I got to go to that beach. Like the beach that he went to in one of his first videos from Samui. That's where he like crawls under the barbed wire or something like that. I still haven't finished the whole video, but saw that part and said, oh yeah, that's the checkbox. I'm going to hang out there. So Todd says, should go now. It is empty. Chad is there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There you go. Indeed, Todd. And hey, Todd, thanks a lot, by the way, for sending me the video of Divert Living, of them being down in just south of Cancun. I think that's going to be a really, really great. I hope you can get to that vacation spot really soon, dude. It sounds like Mexico is, as you've mentioned before, a great alternative to not being able to come to Thailand. Because, I mean, let's face it. Yes, there are a number of beaches in Mexico that are absolutely gorgeous. The beach that used to be out in front of my house. I mean, I was on a mesa, and I had like a quarter of an acre, and I had a 2 stories, like 1,800 square foot house. And it looked out over the Sea of Cortez and the beach right in front of it, especially at high tide when it was like there's no rocks and stuff. But there was definitely a sand in the middle of the rocks that went, you could walk out there at low tide. It was great. It was beautiful. White sand. It was awesome. And I used to drive my Land Rover down there, and I could drive for like 100 kilometers if I wanted to, And that was just south of San Felipe, man. So you get like further south, or you get into, the beach quality like in Puerto Vallarta isn't awesome for sure. But La Paz, I have not been to La Paz. San Jose del Cabo, where I love to go. That beach is huge, and you can like go for great long walks. They even land and take off. They offer these rides to the tourists on I think it's called an ultralight, but it's an ultralight with a motor on it. And so there's the driver guy, and then I think there's a seat, and it holds up to 2 people, maybe 3. But it's like kind of like it looks like a triangle. There's like one there's 2 wheels in the back, and then there's one in the front, and they just cruise along on the beach, and they just take off. And it's just really, really cool. And so they do that in San Jose del Cabo. There's great beaches in Mexico. So good for you for finding that, man. That's really neat. Aztec says, I have line. Some girl named Jessica wants to be my friend. That's all I know so far. Yeah, I've had line like literally since the second day I came to Thailand. And it's very common over here. It's what you'll use to chat with. I'll tell you. So I'll give you a great example. So it's also, it's used for, talking to girls and stuff, but it's also used for business. I mean, they use Facebook for business too. And so like I went to the dentist for the first time, and I tried this new place. It's like right down the street from my house. They were great. They were incredibly professional. It was like $30 or something like that to get my teeth cleaned. It was great. And so as I'm leaving, the owner / manager or whatever, he's like, oh, do you have line? And I said, yeah. And he says, okay, well, so what you do is you scan a QR code and you add them into your line. And then a day later, they reach out to me and they're like, Mike, is everything, or Mr. Mike, Kun Mike, I'm like, they're like, is everything okay? Are you having, and I said, oh yeah, it turns out I have all the teeth that you left me with, ha ha ha, so they put the emotion, whatever it's called, emoji in there, and so, but it's a very common way to speak and to chat in Thailand. For sure, WhatsApp is available here. Gracie and I use WhatsApp like crazy, but Line is incredibly popular. Boop, 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 boop. Caesar, my dad's flag is a punch bowl military ceremony in Oahu. Rest in peace. Duty is done. Happy Father's Day, my friend. Go More Hike says, maybe I'd like it better if I stayed on the beach in a resort hotel, but I stayed at a cheaper place, not within walking distance. Oh, of the really busy area or right near there by the pier. Captain says, thanks, Mike. Talking to us must rock for you. Yeah, it's fun, right? I mean, again, like I've mentioned before, well, you mean you wouldn't have heard this because you're new, so thank you again. But, it keeps me sane. But I also like this. I mean, I started doing this when I was like 14. I mean, there was music and there was a much more sophisticated studio than my living room. But yeah, I like doing this and I like the interaction too, which is really cool. Like how many of you guys we got hanging out right now? Let me just double check. Let me double check on 29, and we got 23 thumbs up. Thank you guys very, very, very much. I really appreciate that. I'm honored. It's cool. So yeah, it's fun for me. And of course, if you have any specific questions, Captain, please do let me know. MetTech 9 years. Todd says, and Puerto Morelos isn't as big on tourists either. Absolutely. It's right in the middle, dude. I mean, it is a perfect location. I mean, you'll fly into Cancun, but if you saw Divert Livings, like when did they fly in? I think they flew in May 31st, and the airport was empty. But, they probably got there like literally on the first day it was open. And Todd says to Aztec, you mean Jessica Rabbit? Is that the Jessica you have on your line? Go More Hike. They didn't have tuk-tuks there, and the taxis soured me on being overpriced. Song Taos were limited routes. Motorcycle taxi I took, but I did not like, not a fan. Oh, okay. So yeah, so I'm kind of in the habit of renting motorbikes when I go to these little islands, especially because it's not really dangerous, Like, I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable renting a motorbike in Bangkok. Let me just say that. And Sung Taos, like I mean, there are Sung Taos here on the street. Like I can take a Sung Tao from Song Tao from Sukhumvit, like the main street, right down my soy, and I can get to my house, for like 8 baht or something like that. But I just walk it; it's no big deal. I mean, I like walking quite a bit. Now, like you said, stuff wasn't within walking distance. But yeah, I don't normally take tuk-tuks and that sort of thing. I rent a motorbike. So, and if you don't like motorbike taxis, then I totally get it, dude, because that means that there are many places in Thailand you're going to be like, yeah, I'm just not a fan. Unless you're within walking distance. Trust me, dude, I am a big fan of walking distance. And that's one of the things I actually do like about Pattaya is the Song Tao that goes right there along Beach Road and even further down. I mean, you can literally, for like 10 baht, basically, you get on that Song Tao and it takes you from Beach Road all the way down to Beach Road at Jomtien. And I love doing that, which is really cool. Brian Mitchell, ¿qué paso, Mike? Nada mucho, amigo. Nada mucho. Buenos días. Aztec, yeah, I had to install Line to communicate with the Airbnb we had. Yeah, that's pretty common too. And that's another thing is that not only will they like install it, because I get that's more common. If you're over here, they're like, well, look, you just add me to your Line, and that's how we'll talk for the rest of it. And it's funny. I've had Airbnb hosts do that, and I don't know if I've been burned, but the communication wasn't what I wanted it to be. So I always stick with the chat app inside of Airbnb, because then that means if there's any dispute, if there's anything, that bothers me or whatever, then I have, I mean, again, you could screenshot everything that happens in Line and use that as sort of your evidence to get what you want, to get what I want. But I found that sticking inside of the Airbnb app is the best way to communicate. That's worked out well for me. But I have had that exact same experience, Aztec. They're like, oh, here's my Line. And I'm like, okay. And we communicated with the lady whose house, basically, little bungalow, really, that we rented in Coconut Island, which is just on the east. If you go on the east side of Phuket, it's the really small island just off the east coast there. And Coconut Island, it was great. We had our own little pool and our deck and everything, and it was fantastic. I totally dug it. Hello from Costa Mesa. James, thanks for coming by, buddy. Really appreciate it. It's good to see you there. Aztec says, g'day to Caesar. Go More Hike said, it was hard for me to get around. Didn't like it. Call me crazy, but I like tuk-tuks. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's awesome, dude. I mean, look, we all have our preferences for sure. My hotel was southeast part of the island. I forget the name of the beach I went to, was maybe central east of the island. Okay, so that was cool. You weren't necessarily down in a place where there are a lot of tourists, which then one could argue, well, right, that's why nothing was in walking distance. But Costa Mesa in the house. Aloha, Costa Mesa. Good to see you, and thank you for joining us on Facebook. I live in, sorry, let me make sure I can see this. I live in Amnat Choren with non-immigrant OA, came home February 20th. Good for you, James. Oh, and hey, thank you for adding me on Facebook, actually. You added me recently. I really appreciate that. And thanks for coming by, and welcome to the Cool Kids Table, sir. Get back to the chat here. When will they let us back? Yeah, that's a great question, man. It's not as soon as you'd like, obviously, nor me to have Gracie come over here. Believe me, I'm in the same boat. I'm not in the same boat as you, but I have a loved one that I wish was here. So anyway, I don't know. Honestly, I think that October 1st is a pretty realistic date. If you're just, sort of coming over here to come over here. Now, again, you've got an OA, right? So, I mean, that's a long stay visa. So they know they assume that you're not just going to be a tourist, or at least that's sort of their default setting when they see the OA visa. But yeah, I think October 1st, you can probably plan on, that will be easy for me. Easy. It will be available for me to come in. Now, that could happen in September, but based on the sort of trajectory that I've seen everything, I would say that October 1st is probably a pretty safe bet. Todd says, I think you have a squirrel swimming in the pool. Could be. I mean, it could be a pigeon for all we know, i.e. the pigeon cam. Maybe the pigeons are learning to swim because they're like, you know what? The humans haven't been here in so long. We should totally use this thing. Robert says, every time I've been in Thailand, I have been in a taxi that has had an accident with a scooter. 5 trips, 5 accidents. So not a real big fan of motorcycle taxis. Yeah, I get it, dude. I mean, that's a high percentage. I have been in many taxis and been on motorbike taxis. I do not take motorbike taxis in Bangkok. Absolutely not. The guys cruise around. I'll sometimes take one in Pattaya if I'm like just going down, a little soy or whatever. But yeah, I do not take them on long rides. If I know they're just not comfortable too. I mean, it's the difference between, and it's infinitely cheaper. But man, I'd rather, if I'm going to go like not spend something, if I'm like trying to, transport myself on the cheap, then I'll use the public buses here, because those things are great. And, about 25% of them are air conditioned, and the bigger routes have the air conditioned and the non-air conditioned buses. And, non-air conditioned is about 10 baht and air conditioned is about 20 baht. So it's kind of like, and that's much cheaper, of course, than a taxi. But the nice thing about a taxi, of course, is it has air conditioning. So, why can't I see the other posters' messages? Okay, so what you'll see on the screen here is you'll see the aggregated chats from Facebook and YouTube and that sort of thing. And so that's the other posters' messages that you see there, James, on the screen. As far as the if you're over on YouTube and you're just looking at YouTube and you're not looking at the screen, then all you see is the YouTube posts. And so that's why I have this chat box up there, so that all of the other, because I stream on Twitch and Periscope, so Twitter, and then many other platforms. So this way I get to see all of them. So that's why I throw them up on the screen, because I know that people come by on Facebook basically can't see the YouTube post unless I put them up here. Aztec says about Airbnb. Yeah, I used Airbnb site for communicating with the host, but she had a maintainer living in the same building, so we had to have line to communicate with her. Yeah, and in fact, I've done very similar things too. Like my brother's going to let you in, pick you up, kind of thing, and here's his phone number, and then of course you add him with line, so it totally works. Stuck says, thanks, Mac. I'm going to see what Do More Life is up to. Absolutely awesome, man. Say hi to Jeremy for me. I really appreciate you coming by. Stuck, have an amazing day. I did not know he was doing a live stream this morning. I think if it's 9:50 here right now, then he starts his ones at different times, as do I. I mean, lately I've been doing it at 8 a.m. simply selfishly because I like today, for example, I started it at 8 a.m. Because I'm going to probably only go about 2.5 hours, because I want to go meet some buddies at noon. And then later today, actually, I'll probably hook up with another YouTuber, Jay International. If you've seen his video, he did a very detailed. If you guys have any desire to get a, oh my God, I just forgot the name of it. The really expensive passport, the really expensive visa, elite visa. My God, Mike. If you guys have any desire to get an elite visa, he just recently got an elite visa and he went through the entire process. He also talks about the various different examples. He does a financial analysis of why he believed it was a good idea. So the letter J and then International. Go check out his channel for that. It's very academic, but it's very accurate. And I really liked his analysis of it. Anyway, so he's a good guy. And he hangs out with Foreigner Joe quite a bit, actually. And he's the one who turned me on. Oh, you're welcome, James. He's the one who turned me on to Foreigner Joe's meetups, which sadly, then I'm like, oh, cool, I'll go to the next one. Well, the next one was canceled because he was moving to Prop Shop CurryCon, which, and if you've seen the video, you know that I was able to meet up with him down. I can't remember the name of that coffee shop, but anyway, I met him down in Prop Shop CurryCon. So that was pretty awesome. And anyway, so yeah, I'm glad you're going to check out Jeremy's channel. Good day to James Mohan. Right on. Yeah, see, so then people can post that and see it. Gomar Hike says to Richard Dawson. How funny is that? Robert Dawson. I was just flashing back. And anyway, Hogan's Heroes. That's exactly why I shy away from motorcycles. I shy a little bit. You're so cool. You're so made for the Philippines, Hike. You're going to be loving it over there, dude. Aztec says to Stuck, catch you next time, mate. Hike says, in tuk-tuks, you're in the open air and you get at least a little bit of protection. Sure. Yeah, no, totally, dude. I mean, I take them when they're the most comfortable way of transport for me. For example, when we went to the pier in the Koh Loi Pier down in Sriracha, effectively, to take the ferry over to Koh Sichang, then yeah, the tuk-tuk is stellar solution. Todd says, CETO October would be perfect, but I'm sure they won't want us COVID in the U.S., international, Thailand. Really. Yeah, I mean, I get that. And, you know, you can understand why, right? They're like, hold on. So you people from Singapore kind of like, you know, we'll let you in because you seem to get your butt. You know, you're coming from the most diseased country on the planet. We're a little bit skeptical, you know? And who knows how they're going to monitor that, right? I mean, because I have a U.S. passport, but hopefully if I were to leave and when I can leave and then come back, let's say, hopefully they'll be able to look at it and say, okay, so you have not, I mean, whether they know this or not, because we talked about this last time, you don't stamp in or I certainly don't stamp in when I go into the U.S. So there's no physical stamp. So, I mean, but if you look at my passport, obviously there's the stamp in and stamp out from Thailand. And they could be like, okay, wait a minute. So you came here in November and then you left whenever, and you've only been to this other country. Like if I stamp in and stamp out of the Philippines, for example, and then come back here. I don't know if they're going to go through that logic or whether they're just going to look like literally at the front of the passport and say, yep, you're a U.S. citizen. So therefore you're going to have to do this and this and this, or you're going to have to quarantine before. I mean, who knows? But again, it all changes anyway, right? I mean, any like sort of speculation that I have today, that could change literally tomorrow. Traditionally, what they'll do is they'll have cabinet meetings on Tuesday, potentially announce exactly what they're going to do on a Wednesday. So this week, midweek, it could change. And, I'm kind of hoping that on Tuesday they don't come with the brilliant idea saying, you know what, no one's going to Samui anyway. Let's just stop all the ferries. In fact, let's just do it this afternoon. So I landed, Tuesday. I'm down in Suratani, and they're like, oh, no, there are no more ferries. And maybe, Chad can't get back, right? Who knows? Captain Photon, yeah, I just got into Divert Living. Cute couple. This could be you and Gracie. Yeah, they're doing a great job, man. I subbed to him when he had like about 500 to 600 subscribers, and they have just done an outstanding job. I mean, his production quality is stellar. Both he and her pretty much have a very similar skill set, which is quite elevated as far as like producing good quality videos. And they interface with, they have 200, I want to say they almost have 250,000 subs. I think they have like 235,000 subscribers. So, wild success, and more power to him, dude, because I think he's been going for, if you go back to his first video, I want to say it's like about 2 years old. And I used to watch those guys religiously, but they go to a lot of countries, which is really exciting. Elite visa. Yeah. Thank you, Aztec. And the word of the day is aggregated. Yeah. I like that word. And I like doing that with my chat. But yeah, I guess it could be me and Gracie. And that's the thing, right? Now that I'm doing these live and I'm doing more. When we were doing more, when we were spending more time together, certainly like when we would go to Florida and that sort of thing, I would love to bring her into the videos. But again, like Heike has mentioned before, I little shy. So she's a little shy, to do it with me. And the other thing too is that, look, I don't speak slowly. And so sometimes even after she and I, because right now, like if she were to show up today, my speech would have to slow down because she hasn't spoken English like ever. The only time she's spoken English is when she texts back and forth with me over the last basically 6 months. Well, not 6 months, but it will be eventually, sadly. And so, I'm going to have to slow down, and she's going to have to like get her English sort of back up. And so that'll take a little while. And, so anyway, but so I speak a little too quickly for her on the videos sometimes, and so that gives, she's like, what? And so but anyway, I am really excited to have her come back here, obviously, but I'm also really excited for her to spend some more time with me on some live streams and answer some questions for you guys. Because we were just talking about something, and I'm like, oh, we should do a video on that because this is what happened. But she goes, no, that's not what happened. I did this and this and this. I'm like, oh my God, I was so wrong. Specifically to her getting her visa to come to the U.S. There were a couple of things that I said, oh yeah, you didn't have to do that at all. She goes, I absolutely had to do that. I had to show him this piece of paper and this credit card and this, And so I'm like, wow, okay, then you have a lot more data on this, and this would be a very valuable video, potentially a live stream, so we can answer questions on the fly about how a Filipina gets a U.S. tourist visa, which is, of course, quite an amazing visa. It's good for 10 years, and you can come to the U.S. and stay for 6 months. And, for the rest of our lives, effectively, I cannot see Gracie and I spending more than 6 months, in the United States. Not concurrently, certainly. But anyway. Mike says, I'm only going to 2.5 hours. Yeah, I know, right? What time is it? 10 o'clock? It's only 2 hours. MedTech says, I just kicked out 3 non-members at the gym. Did I do right, Mike? Absolutely. Dude, in fact, what I hope you did is I hope you basically took the live stream and just literally put it right up against their face and said, I don't see you on this Cool Kids table. Bye-bye. I hope you did the bye-bye. Like in Saturday Night Live, that skit, bye-bye. Yeah, absolutely, dude. You know what time it is. You got your own Cool Kids table happening over there, buddy. So, yeah, keep it tight. Keep it tight. Robert says, I understand how Thais feel about America. Yeah, well, there's it's not just them, okay? There's a number of reasons why we're amazing and beneficial, and there's opportunistic and that sort of thing. But there's also a number of reasons why we're embarrassing and, bull in a china shop and, bullies and that sort of thing. So, there's pluses and minuses of everywhere, and, we're the most visible, or one of the most visible, and so it is what it is. That guy really likes the pool. Oh yeah? What do we got going on down there? Oh, is he my is he my lap guy? Yeah, he's been down there even when almost a third of the pool is in the sun now. So I don't know if he's tired, or is he just like walking around the edge? Hold on. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can zoom in on Crazy Man and see what he's doing here. Maybe we can judge. Yeah, he seems to be just like walking. I mean, that I'm sure that's good exercise, right? Versus just like the swimming. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then we got a new person down there. Looks like they're the cleaner. Oh, right, because it's actually is that right? No, it's you know what? He might be one of the workers. I'm not sure because it's open from 7 to 9, and then they clean from 9 to 10. So he might be one of the dudes that is like, somehow that's his justification for cleaning it. He's like, oh no, this is how we clean our pool. We basically get in, rubber slippers that have brushes on them, and we walk around the floor. So, but yeah, it's a nice view. I've never really been out there in the morning, so I'll have to just check it out. In a world, one man and his dog save the world. Coming soon to theaters near you. How was that, Hike? Was that good? Or are you already over on? Are you already kicking it at Jeremy's table? JF says, I've been bouncing around making airline reservations and canceling them, signing up and canceling insurance policies. Now my visa is going to expire in August and the passport will expire. Well, I don't know where you're from. If you're from the U.S., I would highly recommend that if your passport's going to expire in the next year, and I recommend this to everybody, especially if you're from a country that has 10-year passports, which is, I think, the majority of them that are on this list, that are on the chat, that are watching the live stream. Get your passport renewed. There is, and in fact, if you're like, oh yeah, I know how to do that, Mike. I do that blindfolded. I go down the post office or I go wherever I go. But let me just throw this in the chat. In fact, I'll put it in the other chat so it actually goes to everybody. But the point is that it'seasy.com. They are a company that has done my passport renewal. They have done my second valid passport renewal. And they have gotten me my Chinese visa. Actually, hold on. Let me put the HTTP so you guys can just click on the link if you're watching via YouTube. Although I think this also will post it to the. I think this will also post it inside of Facebook, and so you guys can see that. But anyway, it'seasy.com. I get absolutely no financial benefit from them, but I highly recommend them. If you want to basically just give them, however fast, I mean, they can do a passport in 24 hours, okay? But it's like $300. But if you just want your passport done in like a week, you just send them everything and that sort of thing. What they cannot do is get you a Thai visa. But they got me a 10-year Chinese tourist visa because I'm like, look, I'm just going to get this now and then send it out. So anyway, they also did my passport renewal just before I got here, and they can do it again. They can do it in 24 hours, or they can do it in 2 weeks, depending upon how much you feel like paying them. So that's my recommendation. As far as your visa goes, if it's going to expire in August, yeah, there's a very low likelihood that you'll be able to physically get into Thailand before August. So that is a drag. I get that. Again, if you're still in the U.S., then I don't know if I looked on the website yesterday night for the L.A. consulate, and they're closed. So I'm not sure whether you can just do it by mail. They actually have physical people there. They're just not letting them come in, not letting anybody come inside. Potentially, you could do your visa by mail. But anyway, that's just my experience and my tip for sure for anybody. It'seasy.com. They're great customer service. They have offices all over the U.S. And I sent all of my stuff out from when I was in San Diego. And then I was actually going back to Washington, D.C. to go to a conference. And I said, you know what? I'll tell you what, I'm going to save some money. I'll just give you guys like whatever your fee is, $50, $70, whatever. And I said, but do not send it back to my house in San Diego. Let me just pick it up at your offices in Washington, D.C. And they were wonderful. I mean, I made an appointment. I went in. It was awesome. So anyway, I just cannot speak highly enough of it'seasy.com. I've used them in total. I think I've used them 5 times for various passport related things. They're great. Todd says it's the squirrel I was talking about swimming. He was swimming laps. Oh, very nice. You look like ants down there. You're so small. Hike says this Christmas Arnold is back. This Christmas, Arnold is back. Cybernet doesn't stand a chance. Terminator Devastation. Rated R. I am so fired. Stop talking. Just stop talking. I should stop talking. You're so fired. Live stream at the pool. So I have my little. So the webcam or the pigeon cam is is a GoPro basically. It's an SJ4000, and I've got the case for it. And so I tried some the underwater stuff just to kind of get some footage of that. And it worked well, but for some reason, again, I've mentioned this, the camera's old, and so unless I have it plugged in, basically, the battery only lasts about 10 minutes. So, but that would be cool. I guess I could live stream at the pool. However, my outdoor voice would probably bother some others. I did the live stream from the park, which unfortunately it's not like on the other side of the pool. Like if you were to look down at the pool and keep going to the right, and then you keep going to the right. So therefore, I guess I'm blocked with decent cell coverage because I did a live stream from the park down there a while ago, but the quality wasn't awesome. So, but I could go down there and try it again. Do some. I like doing the live streams outside. In fact, I'm going to do another live stream from Lumpini Park. I was thinking about that yesterday, but actually, probably my next live stream outside will probably be from down in Surat Thani or Koh Samui. So JF says, I've spent money on girlfriend's farm, $23,000, bought 3 motorbikes, now buying a car, and I'm not even there. Yeah, dude, I feel for you, man. That's Costa Mesa, right? Sorry. You said that. I apologize. Costa Mesa switched to YouTube. Oh, okay, James. Right on, man. Very cool. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I've like watched people's live videos on Facebook, and then I've also watched it on YouTube or whatever. And like you were saying, I mean, while you can look at the screen and see all of the others, if you're over here on YouTube, then you can get kind of both experiences. The other thing too is that you're new to the channel, which I really appreciate, man. Or at least you're new to subscribe or to connecting with me on Facebook. So again, thank you for that. But yeah, so Costa Mesa again, I did that. So what I did, it's easy from Costa Mesa. Captain says, love the Californian skit on SLA, Mike. Reminds me of you. Very good, Cap. I appreciate it. I go to the Thai embassy in LA. Yeah, absolutely. That's where I got my OA, and it was a cakewalk, man. It was so easy. I mean, and the customer service is great. Now, again, you got to remember that I say it was very easy because I'm one of these guys that gets no matter where I go early. Like, in other words, there is always someone who's going to be the first person to enter or to do stuff. I want to be that guy. So I got to the LA consulate, and again, it opens at like, let's say for the sake of argument, 10. It could be 9. I can't remember, but at the time it like opened at 10. And so I got there, and I was standing in line at like 9:30 because I'm like, I got nothing going on. Like, this is all I'm going to do today is like deal with this thing. And if I get my visa to go to Thailand as a retirement dude, and if that's all I do today, I'm living the dream. So anyway, so I was like, I don't care if I wait around 3 hours because at the end of the day, I'm going to spend a hell of a lot more time in my car going to Los Angeles because if you guys don't know, the Los Angeles, it's in Los Angeles. It's past LAX. It's basically in Hollywood, and well, it's actually kind of close to Beverly Hills. I think I can't remember. I think that's right. Anyway, it's down the street from Paramount Pictures. So right down on the same street where the consulate is, actually, there's a really cool coffee shop. Anyway, so I hung out there, and yeah. So I don't know when it's going to open. I don't know if they have that on their website. I only looked at it briefly, and there was like a crawl at the top that was talking about that they're closed, and they may have said we're closed and we're opening at this time tomorrow or something. But I didn't get that far. So. Hike says, I just bookmarked. It's easy. Is that legit? I thought Chinese visas were really hard to get. So again, that's, many people will say, oh my God, you can never get a Thai visa. And I'm on my 3rd one. And so I always debate that with anybody. So here's how I got my Chinese visa. I booked a flight to China because I was going to transit through Pudong anyway. And so I booked a flight into Pudong, and then I booked my next flight that I was going to take to go back to the U.S., but I didn't show them that one. And then I booked a hotel, and Anyway, the short answer is that if you go to It's Easy and you click on, I think the first drop down is like, where are you a citizen? So you go like US, and then where do you want a visa? It's like China. I didn't have to buy insurance like a Shenzhen visa. If I had, I can get in and out of the Shenzhen countries without that because I have a US passport, as can you. But we wanted to get a Shenzhen visa for Gracie. And so you kind of like pick one of the countries that's in there and you go to that consulate to kind of get that visa. But you have to have insurance. You have to prove to them you have insurance while you're there, while you're going to be there. And so I will tell you right now that it was easier to get my Chinese visa than it was to get my Thai visa, meaning It's Easy did it for me. And I just sent them the paperwork. And the great thing about It's Easy is they're like, look, we're going to send you a PDF. We're going to send you an email. We're going to send you all of these things that give you an exact description very clearly. They even put little check boxes by it. And it's like, if you don't put all of those things in the envelope and send it to us, well, then we can't help you. But if you do, then we can help you get this visa. Now, let's also be clear. I didn't try and get a Chinese visa in the middle of their entire country being the originator of COVID, okay? But I used it to get in and out of the mainland, and it was really cool. It was very simple once you get there, because to go to mainland China, you do need a visa, right? You can get a temporary one if you just want to land there and like hang out for a few days. But it was easy for me to just open up my passport. They look at it, blam. And they're good for 10 years, by the way. They're very similar to as far as length of time. I don't believe I can stay 6 months. I could get it actually. But I don't believe I can stay 6 months, meaning it was very similar to the US visa. And so the US visa, the tourist visa, 10 years, it's good for 10 years and you can come in for 6 months at a time. I don't know if that's the case with the Chinese one. I might only be able to do 90 days at a time. I cannot remember. Max says it's very frustrating to communicate with people who don't speak fluent English. Asian girlfriend issues. Yes, I understand that, Max. It absolutely can be. And then Hike says to Max, when they don't speak English, they can't nag you. Haha, boom, boom, boom. Captain says my passport just expired last week. Great timing, Mike. Ooh, yeah. That happens. I get it. But if it has expired, either they can help you or they might not be able to help you because of basically the climate that we're in right now. I don't know that, but the first thing I would do is simply reach out to them. They will get back to you. And then so I would go with the service first if it's expiring. Or it's expired. That's a real bummer. I would highly encourage you. Anyone who's got like a 10-year passport, consider it a 9-year passport. You'll see tons of documentation about, oh yeah, as long as you have 6 months, they'll let you. No, trust me. There will be times where you will show up and there will be something happening, not necessarily like a global pandemic, but there will be an issue where for whatever reason, they're like, oh yeah, you've got 6 months, but it's only like 6 months. And they'll be like, forget it. So again, it's always better to err on the side of excess. And in fact, Captain, if you are traveling significantly because many people will be like, there's no way I'm going to take my passport, put it in an envelope and send it to some company that's going to like do something with it. I may not get it back or whatever. Any of you guys that have ever had that concern and, you're like, oh my God, I'm not going to send my passport to the Vietnam embassy. That would be crazy. Oh my God, they're communists. If you ever had that sort of concern, consider and do some research on second valid passport. Just Google that, second valid passport, those words. Don't put in like backup passport. Don't put in, but I will type it in here. And the reason you get one of those is so that you can have a passport while you're sending your passport off to another location, meaning another embassy traditionally. There are requirements for it, and it's not just like, oh, I'd kind of like another one that has a different picture of me in a different light. That's not the reason you get it. You need to be very clear, and you need to be very serious about the reason you're getting it. And you're getting it because you're going to be a major traveler, and you're going to be sending off your passport to embassies, and you won't have physical possession of it while they are taking care of getting a visa. So anyway, that's all I'll say on that. If you want to talk to me even more in depth about that, livemyassoff.com/calendar, and we can have a much longer in-depth discussion about your personal thing, and I can give you my experience, strength, and hope on that. And it will also be my, it'll be my opinion for sure I'm not a legal professional. I'm not a immigration professional. All I can do is tell you what my experience has been, and I have experiences that make my travel very, very easy. So, I'll have to renew my passport. I will try them, says Joseph. Yeah, give it a shot, man. I mean, again, at the end of the day, if you look at it and you're like, $99, there's no way I'm doing that. I can get my passport done and, whatever. But again, if you're in the deal where you're like, oh my God, my passport is going to expire like tomorrow, I would consider using a service. There's plenty of other services. There's another service that I did use once before. I can't remember the name of them, but they're out of Florida, and they did a fine job too. There are many reputable companies that do that in the U.S. I've just stuck with those guys and I've used them. So. Max says, true, but it takes an hour to explain something simple. Yeah, that can be kind of funny. Aztec says to, I'll show that one. MedTex one got blocked initially, I think, because he was talking. I can't remember. I have no idea why. Maybe because hate China, hate CCP. I don't know why YouTube filters these things based on whatever word, but there you go. Aztec to Captain and to Joseph. Let me know how it goes. Yep, it'd be good to hear about that. I don't Aztec, so I don't know if they have an office. I'm sure you have those services in Australia, so who knows, right? Captain Planet, Captain Mintanil. When will you go to China? So good question. The short answer is that when I can start traveling regularly, Gracie and I are going to check out a ton of places, and so. We've been to Hong Kong, and obviously it's really easy to physically get your body to Shenzhen, right? I mean, it's just across the river, basically. I'd love to check out that place. And if I have a Chinese visa, next finish, that makes it very easy. So, I think probably the first countries that Gracie and I will travel to that aren't hers or Thailand, meaning the Philippines or Thailand, probably Vietnam. We'll probably go to Vietnam for a while. And then as we do that, maybe we'll hop back to Thailand, or we'll go from, say, Ho Chi Minh City up to, Shenzhen or whatever. I've wanted to, because I've flown in and out of Hong Kong a bunch of times, and Gracie and I have spent weeks there. And we've loved it. I mean, it's expensive. It's mildly distracting, but it's not super distracting. I mean, you can get an Airbnb there for a decent price. But it is everything else is like, the U.S. price is pretty much, it's not like Singapore. It's not Singapore expensive, but it's pretty darn close. Aztec says, oh my God, where the F are our passports panic? Don't you hate this? Yes. That's happened to me a couple of times, and I've been like, oh man, this is going to be such a pain, because I do have a second valid passport. In fact, that is where my Thai visa is. My main, if you will, meaning full 10-year passport. My second valid passport's only good for 5 years. And just to be clear, if you're going to go down the road of getting a second valid passport, the first one you get, if they issue one, will be valid for 2 years, meaning it's basically an 18-month passport. Okay. So, I used my second valid passport because it wasn't going to expire before my Thai visa expires. But secondly, I needed to get my Thai visa in this one because it just so happened that I was getting my main full-on passport, 10-year passport from the US. I was getting that renewed as my appointment was like all of a sudden showed up at the LA consulate. So I was like, all right, well, this is the way it goes. And so at the end of the day, when I got my second valid passport, because you can renew that just like you renew any other passport, ideally renew it at about 16 or 17 months. You can wait till 18, you can wait till 19 or whatever. But again, their expectation is that you're a very it's very common for you to be a global traveler. So, that way you'll know, like, look, so at 18 months, I basically renewed it. And then when they renewed it, they had it expire when my last passport expired. So instead of just giving me another 2-year passport, they're like, all right, well, your current visa or your current passport expires like 5 years from now. We'll make this second valid passport a 5-year passport. And I asked the lady at It's Easy about that. And she says, yeah, a lot of times they'll do that. They'll just look at it and say, okay, well, this is not his first one of these. Obviously, he travels like crazy. And, to get a passport renewed, right, to get a new one, you send them the old one. So they can look through it and they can be like, okay, this guy, he's been to Malaysia. He's been, all over the stamp. In fact, my last passport, this was, oh, dude, I have wanted to do this since I was a little kid. And I saw like a James Bond movie or whatever. And I saw a passport with like a whole bunch of stamps in it. Like every page was full. I did that. I filled up one of my last passports, and every page had a stamp in it, to the point where, because you know how like when you enter a country, you got to have like 2 blank pages, because potentially they're going to put a visa sticker, like the actual visa in there, and then they're going to use the other page to stamp it. So you need like 2 blank pages. And that's all I had left. And I'm like, that's so cool. It only took me till I was like almost 50. But I was like, that's really good. Hike says, yeah, you might not want to go to China because of the whole V thing. Yeah, no, I totally get that, dude. The virus and, all the COVID, everything. I mean, believe me, there are a lot more other countries that I want to go to before I go. And again, to be fair, I don't necessarily want to go to like the country of China. Like there's like 3, like I don't want to go to Beijing ever. I have no desire to go see that. If I'm going to go up that area, then basically I'm going to Japan, because there's that part of that cluster of the world. There's no way. Any Captain Kangaroo fans in the house? Well, absolutely. Don't know either one of them, buddy. I hate the CCCP, or not the CCC, but the CCP. I get it. I like Indians, very polite people. Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. I worked with a bunch of them in IT. And because of the environment and the way that they got over to the U.S. and they were there on not B1s. What is the visa that they get to come over and work? SP, I can't remember. Anyway, so they had those visas, and they were, so they had, most of them definitely had, all of them had a bachelor's degree in some technical discipline, and then most of them were getting their master's once they come over here. So Aztec says, use different words. Yeah, I mean, I guess you can. Anyway, which words is like 30% of, yeah, I mean, no. It's not that you didn't mean what you wrote. It's that what happens is YouTube, for whatever reason, they have various words that they flag. So, I was not scolding you. Not scolding you at all, dude. Howdy, Philippine cowboy. Good to see you. Joseph, North Korea. Yeah, I'm not going to North Korea anytime soon. Okay, so MedTech, you have another one that's held for review, and you said, I was just stating that I hate the C star P, and thus CHYNA for China. I like Indians. So I would submit that the word hate, I guess, is what YouTube is flagging. So just so you know. Nothing I can really do about it other than to, if I see it in time. But a lot of times what happens is if I'm really behind in the comments, I'm only about 3 or 4 minutes behind in the comments. So if I hit show, then it'll show. However, if I show it in YouTube, it will not show on the screen because there's enough comments behind that. So sorry about that. Anyway, that's just, that's them. And all I'm doing is guessing. For all I know, they're like, oh my God, we have to block the word China spelled CHYNA because of some crazy weird algorithm thing they're doing. So I don't know. But anyway, Aztec is, no, your message is just hidden by default. Left it to Mike to unhide it due to the unjustified conspirational anti-communist world. Yeah, absolutely. Philippine cowboy, gotta love the YouTube censoring. Yeah, absolutely, dude. It's almost more entertaining than anything else. It's initially disappointing. Well, and because here's the thing, guys. Like, I mean, so Brian Polito, if you don't know, I mean, he's a total buddy, and the comments that he makes, I think, are appropriate. I mean, they're funny, but sometimes they're a little off color, which for me, it makes them funny. But sometimes when I'm on these live streams and I'm like 3, maybe like 20 comments behind, I won't see that YouTube is graded out and held it for review. So by the time I get to it, even if I show it, it doesn't even show up on the YouTube thing because it's, so again, that's my sort of, that could possibly be the disappointment of joining me on these live streams. If you're into 3 and 4 hour live streams, well, then you're okay with it. But Todd says websites say second passport is good for 2 years. Okay, good. That's good. They've probably changed it then. So that's maybe why. Maybe they had changed it to 4 years, and when I got mine, they're just like, okay, 5, and it went from 2 years to 4 years. So good. That's great, man. That makes it a hell of a lot easier, and I can understand why they would do that because they're probably like, okay, so this means we're going to issue passports now every 18 months. This doesn't scale. So anyway. Aztec asks, is this U.S. travel passports you're talking about with the second year, 4 year in Australia? My first one, I simply paid for a 5-year passport. So yes, the short answer is we're talking about U.S. passports. And I'm speaking specifically about the second valid passport. The main passports you get, the hardly anybody has a second valid passport, okay? And very few people have the APAC business travel card. people are starting to get very familiar with what's known as global entry in the United States, but nonetheless, that's still not hardly the majority. But anyway, that's sort of my experience and my use of those items. Captain says, thanks, Mike. Thankfully, I am not in a hurry to get my passport renewed. Plus, the U.S. government on their website said it might take 3 months to get it now because of the pandemic. Absolutely. If you do it through them, it will take that long. That's in my experience. That's why I've always hired a service, because it will always take longer if you're doing it directly with them. And if I can't remember whether you said your passport is expired or whether it's just coming. If your passport is expired, past tense, I highly encourage you to get it renewed sooner than later. I'll just throw that out there. Aztec says it's hidden again at MedTech. Leave out the part about sterilizing. Brian taking a bow. Absolutely, dude. I mean, it happens, right? So anyway, just know that it's not me, guys. It's nothing I can do about it until I see it, of course. And I'll show you right now. So MedTech, right? So I showed your comment, and I don't even know. You guys would have to scroll way up. You'll have to scroll up to be able to see it, and of course, you won't necessarily see it because it's right above actually Captain Photon, where he says thanks, Mike. So if you guys care to see where it showed up eventually, hate. There you go. See, HAET. See, you're learning it, baby. Hate. CCP has that. Yeah. See, we haven't had to do any of those, man. That's great. Aztec Brian, good to see you, which is very cool. Thank you for welcoming all the cool kids to the cool kids table, my cool kid friends. Likewise, as always, hey, no hate. There you go. See, hey, H8. Boom. Hike. Don't be hating. Love the game, but hate the player. There you go. That makes complete sense to me. Absolutely. Okay, so here's the deal, guys. I am caught up on comments. I am honored that you guys swung by. Thank you for the super chat. That was a really, really nice surprise, by the way, at the beginning of the live stream. There's 19 of you guys hanging out and 15 thumbs up. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I'm going to head out because I'm going to go meet some buddies at around noon, which means I need to leave here at about 11, which is about 35 minutes from now. And so with that, I will say thank you very, very much. I really appreciate you guys coming by these. And let me try something. Let me see if I use this. What I believe this screen should do is to show some of the let's see what I wanted. Remember how I was like working on that thing where it would like thank every single one of you guys that would come by? Still haven't gotten that code to work. And so what I'm looking for, Streamlabs, STREAM, Streamlabs. There we go. There's this thing called credits. And what I want this to do, what my expectation is that what this will do is it will thank the people that it should thank the people that super chatted. It should also thank the moderators that are here, but I'm not quite sure. So anyway, so let's go over there and see if the silly thing is actually working. And with that, I will I'll end the live chat. Or the live stream rather. So I really appreciate you guys coming by. Again, it's totally awesome, man. I really, really dig being here with you guys. And with any luck, this little thing that also, it will ideally, it will show, let's see how I basically push it and make it go. Can't remember whether it shows it on there or not. Doesn't look like it's doing it. Anyway, so now I'm basically just screwing around. I want to make sure that I thank all of you guys, because it's really cool that you guys come by here. And let's see, end credits is right there. Okay, so the box is inside the window. And if I go to the there we go. How about if I click that? If I click that, then essentially what should happen is that to the right over the pool there on the left-hand side, ideally it should thank if we got any new subscribers or so there we go, right? So yeah, see, so it doesn't do it right. So the moderators are supposed to be all of you guys that are there, which obviously it didn't do correctly. So anyway, it's just a little piece of code that I'm working on without a whole lot of success, as you can see. But nonetheless, it's just sort of, it's part of the fun. It's supposed to show the subscribers, the members, the donations, and the super chats. So, oh well, gives me the opportunity to do it again, I guess. Anyway, guys, it's Mike's from LiveMyAssOff.com saying, I hope you're living the dream. If you're not living the dream, then there's a very good chance that you could. There's opportunity to do it. Trust me, there's absolutely opportunity to do it. And not restream bot. Yeah, for sure. That added no value. I'll talk to you guys soon. Have an amazing day.